Hi, welcome back guys. This is your sensei, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What if Naruto becomes Konoha's ultimate weapon? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. I walked into the council room with Minato and Kushina's son in my arms, ready to give the speech I had prepared after Minato died, sealing the beast within the child. All the clan heads were present, as well as the civilian council. I took my seat, thinking that this should convince them that Naruto was a valuable weapon for Konoha. Today was a tragic day for all who live in Konoha. So many lives were lost due to the Kyuubi, especially our dear leader and my student, Minato Namikaze, and his wife, Kushina Uzumaki. The fourth used a forbidden seal and trapped the beast in their own child, losing his life in the process, I said. Voices erupted from the civilian side, shouting, "That thing is a demon. We must kill it. It's the Kyuubi reincarnated. Killed the fourth. It killed my brother." Meanwhile, most of the shinobi side was contemplating what to do with the child. Danzo then proposed, "I suggest we put that child in my root program and turn him into Konoha's perfect weapon." I thought to myself that my weapon should not be used by that old warhawk. I needed to propose my plan before they all voted. "No. I have a better solution," I stated. Shikaku Nara then asked, "And what is that solution, Hokage-sama?" "You will all adopt him by blood with the adoption jutsu and split the time in raising him," I explained. Fugaku protested, "What? I will not accept such," but was interrupted by me. "You will, because it will not only ensure that Konoha keeps its weapon, but that the Namikaze Uzumaki clan will merge with all of those who adopt him. You will gain political power." I noticed Fugaku smirking. Of course, having more power would persuade him into adopting Naruto. "Well, this meeting is over. Those who will adopt, please step forward." I observed the clan heads, the Nara, Akimichi, Yamanaka, Uchiha, Hyuga, Aburame, Inuzuka, and Haruno. "Now, onto the sacred clan adoption room," I said as I walked away, the clan heads following after me. We descended into an underground level in the Hokage Tower where the adoption rituals were held. "Now we shall begin," I announced, placing the baby in the middle of the room, which was covered in seals. "Now, each and every one of you must draw blood from your hand and place 3 drops on his chest where his heart is. The seals will do the rest," I instructed, staring at the child. I hesitated, wondering if I should really do this to Minato and Kushina's son. But it was too late now. "Fugaku, you will go first since you will have the first 1.5 months to teach and raise him. It will be Uchiha, Hyuga, Nara, Akimichi, Inuzuka, Yamanaka, Haruno, and Aburame." Fugaku approached the baby, staring at it with a kunai drawn. He questioned whether he truly wanted to do this, but he steeled himself, thinking of the losses his clan had suffered. He cut his finger and let 3 drops of blood fall onto the child's heart. The fuinjutsu in the room glowed, and as the glow faded, the drops sank into the baby's skin. To his astonishment, the child's short blonde hair transformed into long, spiky hair resembling that of one of his ancestors. A small dark purple kanji appeared on its neck, reading "Fire." He returned to the rest of the clan heads, asking, "Is it done?" "Eichen." I replied with a slight nod. "It is now your turn, Hayashi," I said. Hayashi walked forward, head held high, and stopped before the child. He thought of the losses his clan had endured and resolved that this child would replace that power. He cut his finger and placed it over the heart until 3 drops fell onto the child's chest. To his surprise, the front spiky bangs of the child's blonde hair straightened out, with one of the bangs resembling his own hair color while the other was pure black. A white kanji for "angel" appeared. He noticed the child's eyes changing, revealing a Sharingan Tomo. He returned to the rest of the clan heads, astonished by the transformation. As the Nara, Akimichi, Yamanaka, Inuzuka, Haruno, and Aburame clan heads adopted Naruto, his body changed to fit in with each clan's unique traits. For the Nara blood, his shadows were constantly moving, and yes, he had multiple. For the Akimichi blood, he gained a bit more weight and developed slight muscle, allowing him to move like a 5-month-old child. For the Yamanaka blood, the blonde parts of his hair turned light blonde. For the Inuzuka blood, all his senses sharpened, and he gained small claws. For the Haruno blood, he gained a second personality, and a single blonde bang melted into pink. Last but not least, the Aburame blood gave him small openings on his fingertips that he could close and open, allowing surrounding bugs to crawl in to feed on his chakra and aid him in battle. The outcome of all these clan heads adopting a single child transformed baby Naruto into a beautiful baby with kaleidoscope eyes and color-changing hair. All his powers seemed to embrace him in comfort for what was to come in the near future. In the Hokage's office, the Hokage announced, "Now that the ritual is over, Naruto Uzumaki is now Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze ha Hyuganaraka Yamanaka Inuzuka Runo Aburame, Konoha's greatest weapon." He looked down at the child in his arms, thinking, "Soon, you will destroy all our enemies." He then handed the baby to the Uchiha. "This child is yours for the next month and a half. Everyone, please treat him as if he were actually your child so it does not raise suspicion about our plan. We must show him love to keep him in our clutches." The response was a chorus of, "Yes, Hokama. Now this meeting is officially over. You may all leave." With that, he walked out to tend to another burden of life, paperwork. As Fugaku left the Hokage's tower, he gazed at the baby in his arms. How could something so beautiful be so misunderstood? He stepped outside and noticed the sun beginning to set. "It's getting late. I should head home." Using the Shunshin technique, he arrived in front of the clan grounds. "Hello, Fugaku-san. I see you have brought the child," said one of the clan elders. "Yes, I have, and no one shall call him that while he remains in this home. We must not make him hate us." He thought to himself, "Stupid old fools, at their age, they should at least have some wisdom." He walked past them and the guards into the main house, where his wife was cooking dinner. "I can smell it from here. Tomato. My one and only love. Mikoto, I'm home." He entered the kitchen to see little Sasuke crawling around, while Mikoto was preparing tomato nabe. "It smells good." He kissed her and made his way to Sasuke, picking him up and placing him in the tall baby chair at the dining table. "Where is Itachi?" "In his room. That boy just won't let go of some scrolls since he became a genin. Why don't you go tell him dinner will be served in 5 minutes?" Mikoto suggested. "Oh, and nice baby you have there." He replied, walking toward Itachi's room with the baby in his arms. He knocked on the door. "Come in," came Itachi's voice. Fugaku opened the sliding door and entered, standing in front of his son, who was reading. "Itachi," he called. Itachi looked up with curiosity directed at the baby in his father's arms. "This is your new baby brother. You will treat him as such, understood?" "Yes, father," Itachi replied. "May I carry him for a while? Be careful." Fugaku handed Naruto to Itachi and returned to the kitchen. Once alone, Itachi gazed at the beautiful baby in his arms. He admired the colors swirling in Naruto's hair and mixing in his eyes. "Anyone can easily tell that you're a true Uchiha, like me," he thought. He walked out of his room, accidentally dropping the scroll and kicking it onto the bed behind him. When he reached the kitchen, he found his parents waiting for him. Oops. He sat down and noticed some baby food on a plate. He began to feed Naruto. "Come on, open up." Little Naruto shook his head. "How old is he, anyway?" Itachi asked. "He was born about 2 days ago," Mikoto replied. Itachi's eyes widened as Naruto giggled. Seizing the opportunity, he shoved a spoonful of baby food into Naruto's mouth. "Gotcha. How can he move like a 9-month-old baby already?" "We think it's because of the Akimichi blood mixed with the Uzumaki's large chakra reserves. It may have affected his muscles and accelerated his strength more than normal," Fugaku explained. "Wait, Akimichi blood?" Itachi questioned, taking a spoonful of his own food. "Yes, I forgot to mention that he was adopted by most of the main clan heads in Konoha." Itachi's eyes widened, and he accidentally spat his drink out, hitting his father. "Sorry, father. That was just unexpected." He stood up to wash up. "Mother, is it okay if I take Naruto and Sasuke to the playroom?" Itachi asked. Did you finish eating? She inquired. Yeah, I did, he answered. Then go on, she said. Itachi picked up Naruto and Sasuke in each arm and took them to the playroom. He set them up to play while he went to retrieve his scroll. From Naruto's perspective, he noticed the strange person who had been staring at him before and was suddenly fed. He decided to turn and look at his older brother. It seemed those strange people did not realize he could understand them. He attempted to send a message to the boy. Hello? Do you want to play? The response surprised him and made him feel better. What do you want to play? He asked. He received his answer when Itachi playfully tapped his nose and crawled away. Oh, it is on. Naruto crawled after him and tagged him on the forehead. I crawled faster to get away until I heard a scroll fall to the ground. Sasuke, that was his name, bumped into me with a look of annoyance. I turned to see where the noise came from and noticed a strange human standing there, Itachi if I remembered correctly. He had a look of pure shock on his face. I turned back and saw Sasuke falling asleep next to me. What a great night, was it not? All I needed was some ramen, though I wasn't exactly sure what that was. Well, I curled up next to Sasuke and fell asleep. Hayashi had just left the clan grounds to pick up Naruto from the Uchiha clan. He quickly made the Shinshin hand signs and appeared in front of the Uchiha clan's grounds. Approaching the guards at the gates, he said in a formal tone, I am here to pick up Naruto. You may pass, Hyuga. Make sure you don't do anything you're not supposed to, they told him with a sneer. Hayashi walked ahead as if nothing had happened. A Hyuga must not show weakness or discomfort. He knocked on the main household's door and waited for a few seconds. HN. I see you've arrived to take the child. He's in his bedroom. Follow me, Fugaku said. Hayashi followed him through the home until they reached Naruto's room. When Fugaku opened the door, Hayashi's face showed shock. Naruto looked like he was 7 months old. How has he grown so much? He asked. It seems the more he adapts to our bloodlines, the stronger his body becomes to sustain it. To believe that he already has 2 tomes in his Sharingan, Fugaku said, wearing a proud and slightly smug smirk. 2 already, huh? And how many has your child obtained? Hayashi asked, watching Fugaku's smirk fade. He stopped his own smirk from growing. That's not important right now. Will you take the child or not? Fugaku asked with a slight growl. Yes, I must be on my way, Hayashi answered. He picked up the child and walked back to the exit. Good day, Uchiha, he said as he walked out. Once he passed the guards, he made sure to add chakra into his shoulder and bumped into one of them. Excuse me, he smiled falsely at him. He shunned Shin home before they could say anything. He walked towards the main branch's home with the child in his arms. Reaching the door, he smiled at Hinata, who was sitting next to her Prajnanti mother, Asuka Hyuga. She turned to look at him and smiled. Hello, Hayashi. I see you've brought the child. Yes, do you wish to hold him? He asked. Well, of course, dear. Hand him to me, she replied. Hayashi gave her the child and walked to the branch house to talk to his brother. Asuka held the child, marveling at how beautiful he was. He would become stronger, just like a true Hyuga. She granted him the power of gentle taijutsu, a different version of the gentle fist where any part of the body could be used instead of just the palms. A single tear dropped onto his forehead, sliding down his left eye and forming a tattoo that read, Gentle Angel. You have received my blessings, young hero. You will suffer greatly, and I will not make it past this birth. I cannot bless my second child, so I have blessed you. Take care, my young hero. She set him down, grabbed Hinata, and placed her next to him. Feeling drowsy, she sat in the rocking chair and rocked herself to sleep. Naruto saw the kind human fall asleep in the wobbly chair and giggled a bit. He turned to look at a small version of her, Hinata, from what he could gather through the adult human thoughts. He crawled towards Hinata and saw her tilt her head towards him. Do you want to explore the house? He asked through telepathy. Weiss, if you want to, she replied, her speech slightly hesitant. He was surprised. He thought she would answer like Sasuke, but it seemed she still had some problems with her speech. All right, let's go that way, he said, pointing towards the branch house. Okay, she responded. They made their way through some hallways, avoiding servants along the way. I sense something powerful in one of these rooms, he thought as he headed towards a room that looked like a child's room. Inside, he heard noise coming from another small room. He crawled inside and was shocked to find a small boy about 2 years older than Hinata with small wings sprouting from his back. "Are you all right?" he asked. "No, I'm not," the boy sniffled. "My back hurts, and I can't tell my dad because he is talking with uncle." "It hurts." Naruto walked over to him, touched his back, and felt his pain, sadness, and fear. He took it away, numbing the part of his back where the wings were sprouting until the boy finished. "There you go. No more pain, see?" Naruto said, hugging him. Thank you so much. I promise to be there for you when you are in pain as well. It is my life debt to you." "May I ask your name?" the boy asked. "My name is Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Uchiha Hyuga na Akamichi Yamanaka Inazuka Haruno Aburame, your new cousin," he replied. He then crawled back to the boy's bed, where he made him lift him and Hinata into the bed, and they curled up to sleep. After the meeting with his brother Hisashi, Hayashi and Hisashi decided to check on Niji. They headed towards his room and opened the door. What they saw inside made them exchange glances. "So cute," they whispered, chuckling as they headed back to do their daily responsibilities. Niji had somehow managed to retract his wings back in his sleep. What a drag. I have to go pick up that baby. I guess my thoughts will have to wait. Yoshino, I'll be going to pick up Naruto from the Hyuga now. All right dear, be back soon. Sighed. Women. So troublesome. I walked outside the clan grounds and used the Shunshin technique to reach the Hyuga clan grounds. Approaching the guards, I said, "I am here to pick up Naruto." "You may pass," the guards replied. I walked past them to the main branch house, where I heard giggling. I knocked on the door 3 times, and the Hyuga clan had opened it. "Ah yes, you have arrived. Hinata, Niji, and Naruto are all playing in the kitchen." "Follow me," he stated. I followed him to the kitchen and saw a sleeping Asuka, with Niji carrying Naruto, who was trying to reach the baked cookies on the tray placed on the oven. I silently chuckled when I saw them lose their balance and topple the tray. I started thinking about multiple outcomes, and startling a PRGNT woman would not be good for the baby. I reached out with my shadow to stop the falling plate midway. Not many Nara can do this, it takes many years to master. Normal level Nara can only capture something if their shadows touch the person's shadow as well as the person whose shadow they are connecting to. "Now kids, grab the tray and give it to me," I instructed, releasing my shadow once they grabbed it. I took the tray, took 3 cookies, and placed the tray on the table. I then handed a cookie to each child and smiled. "Hope you enjoy. All that troublesome work for a good cookie is worth it, right?" "Yes," they whispered excitedly, and I saw Naruto giggle and point at my head. "Pineapple." I just stared at him. Did my haircut really look like a pineapple? Oh well, it's a Nara trait. I then saw Naruto's hair morph into mine, and I turned to look at Hayashi in shock. How did he? It seems as though he can change his appearance at will. He's been copying many Hyuga around since I got him, he explained. I started thinking of all the possibilities that allowed him to do this and found the most reasonable. Maybe he can morph through clan traits, depending on who he feels like being. That is a possibility. Now, I have important matters to attend to. Please take the child and good day, Nara. What a drag, I thought as I grabbed Naruto and walked out. Once I was outside the Hyuga grounds, I used Shunshin to return to our clan grounds. I opened the door and walked inside toward the kitchen. "Yoshino, I'm back and I brought a baby." Yoshino looked at me with excitement. "Hey Shikaku, can I carry Chibi Naruchan? Pretty please?" "Sure. It's troublesome to take care of him anyway," I replied. She smiled and grabbed the baby from my arms. "Baby Naruto, you have the same calculating gaze all Nara have, and you look so silly with that hair. Too bad we have to hurt you, Naruto." I noticed Yoshino touch her cheek and realized she was crying. She walked to the living room and sat on the sofa where Shikamaru was currently taking a nap. I watched as my little Shika stirred slightly and finally woke up. "Hello, my little Shika. I would like you to meet your new brother, Naruto." "New brother? Older?" he asked. Shika is only 1 year and a month old, But all Nara can talk early due to their intelligence. No, younger, therefore you will care for him, right? I asked him. Yes, Mama, he said, yawning. Troublesome. I set Naruto down next to Shika and covered them up. I saw Shika snuggle into Naruto. Oh no, our Shika will become way too attached. This might complicate the plan. After the Shikamaru nap, I walked into the living room to see Naruto and Shikamaru waking up. I sat down next to them. How about we play a game of shogi? Yes, please. Shikamaru exclaimed. I nodded and carried both of them to the back porch, placing my diamonds set down on the floor. I got this set from my father and he got it from his, and so on. Once Shikamaru is able to beat me easily, he will get the board. Alright, Shikamaru, you against me first, just to show Naruto how it's done. 20 minutes later. Maybe next time, Shikamaru. How about you, Naruto? Want to give it a try? I asked and received a nod back. Alright, come here. We started playing, and I was surprised he avoided most of my moves and countered. Maybe I needed to actually become serious. 40 minutes later. I couldn't believe it. It took me 40 minutes to beat a 3-month-old baby. What a drag. Well, that was a good game, kid. How about we go cloud gazing now? I received 2 excited yells. At least they love what I love. I picked them up and started walking toward the Nara forest. Once we were deep inside, I heard something that made me stop. Listen, I said as I placed down the children, who then looked around. Naruto looked at me curiously, and then he heard it. Breathing. Small, labored breathing. He then saw a deer jump out from a bush with a cry of pain. Another deer had rammed its side, and it was injured. Why? Naruto asked the deer. It looked startled when it heard his voice. Because, human. I was not accepted into the group of Nara deer. I was rejected for not being smart enough, and now I have nowhere to go. My mother abandoned me because of how weak I am, even if I am barely 2 years old. How can you understand me? I can understand you because I am a telepath, a person who can communicate with their mind to any living being. How about this? I help you grow strong with time and training, and you aid me in battle and in my career as a ninja. I promise the prize of revenge. I will make you so strong you will become the new deer summon. Also, what is your name? Naruto is my name. My name is Kato, and I promise to be there for you as your partner, your protector, and ever-faithful friend, Naruto. Kato then picked Naruto up, and they rode to a hill. When Naruto looked back, he saw an open-mouthed Nara and Shikamaru running after them. When they reached the top of the hill, Naruto got off, Kato lay down, and they watched the sky while Kato curled up near Naruto's head, with Shikamaru next to him. I smiled as I slowly drifted to sleep. Choza walked into the kitchen and said to Aziz, well, I think I'm going to go pick up Naruto from Shikaka now. After kissing her goodbye, he left the clan compound and began leaping across the rooftops toward the Nara clan. He landed in front of the guards, who waved at him, and he smiled back. As he entered the compound, he knocked on the door, and Shikaku slid it open. Oh, hello Choza. Here to pick up Naruto? Shikaku asked. Yes, Shika. My wife is already fixing up dinner for us. How has he been? Choza inquired. Well, he is extremely smart. A true Nara at that. He tied me in multiple games of shogi and even gained a ninken from a rejected Nara deer. Just then, a deer kicked Shikaku in the face, causing him to stumble as a child ran in. Dad, Kato doesn't like to be called a reject. You should know that by now, little Naruto said. What a drag. Just take him, Choza, Shikaku replied. Sure, I have things to do. Choza picked up Naruto and walked out of the Nara clan compound, heading toward the rooftops of Konoha. Good thing the compound is only about 10 minutes from here walking, he thought. He landed in front of his clan compound, where the guards bowed. Suddenly he noticed Shikaku again. I forgot to mention, he has the ability to read minds. I also thought of the possibility that his powers may evolve, Shikaku added. Choza looked at him in shock. First, the child ties a full-grown Nara, a clan head at that, in a game of shogi, but can also read minds? Now I must go. Yoshino will be mad if I don't get home in time. What a drag, Shikaku said before disappearing in it. Flash. As Choza entered the house, he was greeted by a running Choji, who hugged him. Suddenly, Choza remembered something. I forgot his deer. What am I going to do? Do not worry, Dad. He will always know where I am due to the bond we have formed. He enjoys walks anyway, just like the berries you grow out back, Naruto reassured him. Just as he finished speaking, Choza heard munching noises, and his eyes widened. My berries, he exclaimed, running out the back door, only to find Kato munching on his berries. The deer then smirked and ran away as Choza chased after it. Naruto giggled as he watched his dad run past him, leaving him and Choji behind. Shikaku had told him he must call all his dad's dad and all his mother's mother. He looked at Choji and pointed toward the kitchen. Wanna go? Choji looked surprised but nodded. They ran through the hallways until Naruto was hit by a wonderful smell, one that could bring joy to the saddest of people, the smell of food. He stopped running, causing Choji to bump into him, nearly making him fall. Ramen! Naruto shouted, racing to the kitchen, with Choji following closely behind. When they arrived, Choji seemed unfazed, while Naruto was out of breath. Once he caught his breath, he looked up to see Choji's mother cooking. Ramen! He screamed in excitement. Choji's mother jumped in fright and bumped into the large pot of ramen. Naruto instinctively held out his palm toward the pot, and to his surprise, he managed to levitate it back onto the stove. How did you do that? She asked, bewildered. I don't know, Mom. I just needed to save the food. It must not be wasted. I'm sorry. Did I do something wrong? He asked, tilting his head, his eyes watering. No, it's just that I was shocked. I didn't know you could do that, did you, honey? She replied, looking past him. Naruto turned to find his dad looking at him with awe. Yes, apparently. Shikaku told me that he has the ability to read minds, and it would eventually evolve to more, Choza explained. After 20 bowls of ramen, Naruto sighed contentedly. Why are you looking at me like that? All I did was eat, he said, feeling a bit creeped out by their stares. Oh no, nothing. Don't worry. How about I show you the training room? Choza suggested. Training? Naruto exclaimed. He loved training and wanted to get stronger. If only they knew that he had already unlocked his Sharingan at 3 Tomo and his Byakugan, as well as the ability to melt into shadows. Next, he wanted to master the art of expansion or just plain training. Neither one was good, but what he truly aimed for was the Akimichi pill recipe. He had to become stronger to survive what was to come after graduation. Well, let's go, Choza said, leading them to the training room located underground in the Akimichi compound. Who would have thought? This was going to be a long month and a half of training. Inoichi thought to himself, today is the day. The day I get Naruto. I've heard from all the clans he has been in that he has mastered at least one thing. Since he can already communicate telepathically, he has technically mastered one of our abilities. Interesting, this boy will become strong. I must check his mind for any traces of the demon taking over. Alright, Nariko, I'm heading out to pick up Naruto, he said to his wife. Alright, dear. Be back before lunch, she replied, walking out back. Inoichi put on his coat and headed out the door, sprinting across the rooftops to the Akimichi compound. He landed and walked past the guards, who were on their snack break. He knocked on the door and heard a voice yell, "Coming!" Choza's wife opened the door. Hello, Miss Akimichi. I am here for Naruto. Oh yes, they are out back training, she said, pointing outside before returning to clean the kitchen. Inoichi walked out back and was greeted by multiple Akimichi clan members practicing taijutsu. He walked past several of them until he reached some hills at the top. Suddenly, he noticed something falling toward him. Panicking, he tried to block it, but Choza was just too heavy. I rolled him off me and he stood up. I soon followed his example and turned to see Choji and who I assumed to be Naruto. They really have gained strength. I am a proud Akimichi, 2 children already at such strengths. How far will they go? Choji said while looking at them with fondness. I thought to myself, oh Choza, don't get too friendly with him. We are going to end up hurting him either way. Well, Choza, it's time for me to take Naruto. It was good to see you, my friend. I said. I then picked up Naruto, and wow, he was heavy. I had to struggle a bit to reach outside. Can you run fast? I asked him. Yes, Dad, but I have a better idea. Kato, he yelled out. Suddenly, the biggest, most built deer I had ever seen came running at fast Chunin speeds. It then propped Naruto on its back. This is Kato, my ninja pet. We will become strong. He will get me there in no time, he stated. All right then, try and stay close, I said skeptically. I hopped onto the rooftop and jumped to the next. I turned my head slightly, only to be surprised to see Kato next to me. He really wasn't joking. I then sped up and landed in front of my compound, where I walked in and waited for Naruto next to the door. Who are we waiting for? Came Naruto's voice from beside me. I turned to see Naruto standing there with Kato roaming around. And nothing, let's go inside, I said as I opened the door. Nariko, I'm home, and I brought Naruto. Oh, you brought fish cake? She asked. No, I meant Naruto as in a person. The child I adopted, I replied. Oh, yeesh, that Naruto. I'm almost done with lunch, so take a seat, she said. I took a seat after picking up Ino and setting her down on her own chair, and Naruto on his own as well. After eating, Dad decided to take me to a room with lots of seals. He said something about going into my mind. I don't want him to see my mind. Hey Kara, can you block him out? I asked Kurama. Sure, kid. I'm not letting anyone in your mind. Also, I'm going to start expanding your chakra reserves, so keep doing chakra exercises. I'll also give your Uzumaki healing a 10-fold boost. You will be able to control when to heal and what to heal, he replied. Thanks, Kara. Dad then walked towards me and touched my forehead. Faints. He passes out. All I hear now is laughter. I sigh and walk out of the room to the flower shop connected to the compound. I walk inside and breathe in the beautiful aroma. I walk around for a bit and find a girl playing with some small flowers. Hello, I'm Naruto. What's your name? I ask just to be polite. Hello, I'm Ino. I heard my new baby brother is coming. Are you him? I'm not a baby, I say, slightly embarrassed. You're younger, so yes, you are my cute little baby brother. She smiles, showing that she is missing a few teeth. I chuckle and smell a very good aroma. I grab her hand and walk toward the smell. In a hidden corner of the store, I touch a part of the wall, and it slides open. Whoa, what is that? Ino asks. I don't know, but I smell something good in there. Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to you, I say, pulling her through the dark hidden hallway. We keep going until we see a red and purple light. We run toward it, only to see a magnificent flower. Mom and Dad told me about this flower. It's supposed to be a myth. It's called the Phoenix's flower, she gasps. It brings back life to a single person, left to the Yamanaka as a present from the first Hokage. For their care of nature. Naruto, we must keep this as our secret. We can't let anyone know. I nod in agreement. Yes, do you think you can help it grow? It doesn't look like a single flower but a small bush of many that haven't sprouted. This flower actually grows as a vine, strangely. Yes, I can grow it. I'll take care of it every day, and when I can't, you can do it, okay? She asks. All right, this will be our little secret, I say as we make our way back out. I then seal the door back. How about we go see other flowers? I ask, and she nods. This month and a half will be very calm and satisfying. Sum's POV. All right, Hannah, I'll be leaving you to heal him. I must go pick up Naruto from the Yamanaka, I say. All right, mother, Hannah responds while placing a palm with green chakra on the injured Ninken. I walk out and head toward the Yamanaka flower shop. I dislike the smell of those flowers, all those scents mixed together. The Yamanaka and their beautiful flowers make their clan seem so girly. Whatever, I think while entering the shop. Yamanaka, I am here for Naruto, I state to the woman at the counter. Yes, of course. I'll go get him, she replies as she leaves for the back door. I turn around to see a few flower bushes. Here he is. Take care, Naruto, she tells the small boy next to her. I notice the flower crown on his head. Hello, Naruto. Follow me outside, I say as I walk outside, and he follows me. Now, I want you to give me that crown you're wearing. Why, mommy? He asks, looking up with curiosity. We don't want it to get ruined when training, now do we? I say, ruffling his hair and making sure to knock his crown off. See what I mean? Ino made that for me. Now it's broken, he says, tears in his eyes and a pouting face. That brings a pang of regret to my heart, but I must toughen him up and show him the ways of an alpha. It had to be done. You can get another one when you come back, I tell him, and he cheers up. Now come on, we have to get to the compound, and then get you a nin ken. But I already have an animal companion, he states. Yes, but all Inuzuka must have a canine companion with them at all times, I reply. I'm not waiting any longer, I think, as I pick him up and Roof jump back to the compound. Come on, oh, and Kato, stay outside the compound if you don't want to be dog food, I say to the deer next to Naruto. I grab his wrist and pull him into the house. Hana, I'm home. You better have finished healing the nin ken, I warn her. Yes, mother. Now I'm trying to find out who impregnated the female alpha nin ken, she replies. Where is she now, Hana? She is due today, I ask. She's out back in her field, she states. I grab Naruto and take him to the female alpha. Naruto is getting that pup since Kiba already got Akamaru. It's probably going to be weak anyway. Naruto's POV. I don't like the way she keeps pulling me, but she is mom. I heard her think that I'm getting a puppy. But a new friend. We will become strong and inseparable, I think, as I walk to where the mother alpha is. I look at her. She seems weak and in pain. I don't think she is going to make it. I'll leave you to her, Mom states. Leave me to her? What do you mean? I ask, knowing quite well she wants me to guide the dog through birth. You should know already, you're smart from what I've heard. Figure it out if you don't, she says while walking back in. I then hear someone say, please, help my child. I won't make it. Help him. Please. Quick, help him. I look down at the alpha female. I will, I promise, Alpha. Who is the father? The father is an ancient elemental spirit wolf. A very kind and protective wolf. My child will have 2 elements flowing through his chakra reserves. Everything about him will be greater compared to a regular Inuzuka dog. He is a born alpha. Tell him I loved him. Name him Pawnee after his father's origin, she states as I pull the child out of her, and her eyes dull out. She didn't even get to see the pup. It's beautiful like its mother. I look down in tears and happiness, both for the loss and the gain. Welcome, Pawnee, to the world of ninjas. Papa? It asks, looking up at me. Well, we do have the same hair, except he has more white. Yes, he's my son from now on, and I'll care for him and train him, I said while zipping up my dark purple hoodie and placing him inside. Yes, I'm your papa and best friend. You can always trust me, okay? I asked. Yes, Papa, he answered back. I headed into the compound to get my Inuzuka tattoo. I'm ready to be a true Inuzuka, he exclaimed. Mabuki's POV. I was currently walking around the clan compound, moving in and out of rooms, watching clan members studying, organizing, training, meditating, practicing healing chakra, and brewing poisons and cures. All part of the Haruno clan. Maybe that Naruto boy will be a prodigy in this as well. I walked towards my husband, Kizashi Haruno. Hello, dear. I'm about to go and pick up Naruto. Please keep track of Sakura for me? She's in the study hall, I told him. Of course, dear. I'll make sure she's memorized the whole shinobi rule book by the time you get back, he said with a smile as he walked away. I walked proudly, head held high, through the village and towards the Inuzuka compound. Once I got there, I heard a yell, "No! Get down from there, you little beast, or I'm going to punish Akamaru." It was Tsum Inuzuka. I knocked on the door, heard a crash, and the door opened to show Kiba Inuzuka being held by the ear by Tsum. "Hello, Tsum. I hope you're having a great day? I'm here for Naruto," I said with a smirk. "Oh yes, he's out back with his dog," she told me while taking Kiba upstairs by the ear. I walked past the hallways and out the back door. I spotted Naruto a few feet outside the woods. I walked towards him and placed my hand on his head, only to watch in amazement as the color turned from brown to hot pink. He turned around and looked up at me with questioning eyes at first, but then his eyes started filling with recognition. Are you my next mom? He asked. Yes, and now I'm going to take you to my clan compound, okay? I informed him. Okay, sure, he said while grabbing my hand for a side-along shunshin. He was smart. I shunshined in front of the clan compound and made him follow. Wait, what about his pets? Naruto, what about your pets? I asked. They will always find me. We have a bond that can only be broken by death, he stated in a monotone voice. Already preparing for the shinobi ways. Interesting. I walked into the room Sakura should be in. Great job, Sakura, you did it. Now you and Naruto, your younger brother who is at the door with your mom right behind me, will study all there is to know about the Haruno clan. Goodbye, said my husband and poofed away in a shunshin. That coward. Yes, here are the books in grades 1 to 10 in every technique used by the Haruno. I'll be back later, I said and then left them to their studying. Naruto's POV. Hello, I'm Naruto. What's your name? I asked Sakura just to be nice. My name is Sakura. I look forward to being your older sister. We can study together. Do you have your other you yet? She asked. I tilted my head. What does she mean? She is talking about me. I am your other half. You could say I am your subconscious. I know all your deepest secrets, and I can stay awake while you sleep. I am also able to resist torture. You may treat me as you wish, but I will always treat you as a friend, Naruto-kun. I can also be used in political situations or situations where you need to remain calm. I'll take over, I heard a voice in my head say. Oh, so you are like my guardian angel, like Kurama is my guardian demon beast? I asked. Something like that. Now let's get to studying, my other self suggested. Yes, I just noticed him. He suggests we get to studying, I informed Sakura, and she looked at me with a smile. I turned to count the books and counted. Books on not only clan information but all ninja stuff. Might as well get those done with too. I looked up when I heard the door slide open and saw my mother walk in. Wait, both of you finished 30 books? Yes, mother, we responded at the same time and looked at each other, grinning as we put the 31st book in the finished pile. Halfway through, Naruto somehow helped me activate my other self, so now we breeze through the books easily. Our second self absorbs the knowledge and runs drills in our minds to accommodate it and gain experience in such elements, she stated with a big smile as I hugged her. Our mother looked at us and smiled and nodded. Well done, Sakura and Naruto. We will be going through all the academy portion of the studies in the month you stay here, as well as poisons and antidotes, chakra-enhanced taijutsu, medical ninjutsu, and chakra control. Prepare yourselves because it's going to be a long trip, she stated with a mischievous smile. We turned to look at each other with a sweat drop. She led us into the library. Shibi's POV. As I tended to my Kikaichu by releasing a steady stream of chakra into the air so they could feed, I thought about what was going to happen today and the logic of it all. I still didn't understand why we must play with a child's feelings when it can barely do anything to harm us as it is right now. I would not go against a child without proof that it actually is a demon, a monster. I looked a few feet away, watching as Shino played with some bugs on the plants around the compound. I smiled to myself but didn't show it because of my coat. It looked like I was just staring. Smirking at the thoughts of my coat bringing many advantages into my shinobi career, I walked out of the compound and made my way to the Haruno. I heard about what Naruto does with his appearance when he meets someone from another clan, and we can't have anyone seeing his eyes now, can we? I grabbed some goggles specially made for the Aburame clan and a coat before I left. As I arrived at the Haruno compound, I heard a loud crash coming from the backland and decided to investigate in case they were under attack. I chakra jumped to the other side of the wall. Once I landed, I raised an eyebrow to see Mabuki, her daughter Sakura, and who I assumed to be Naruto punching boulders back and forth. What shocked me was that the boulder was at least 20 times his size. They kept going until Naruto delivered a kick to the center of the rock, causing it to explode. Well done, Naruto. You as well, Sakura. That's the 5th. Your strength and chakra control have improved as well. Naruto, your father is here, so you must go. It has been a good time, Mabuki said. As Naruto turned, his hair started to change into the same shade as mine, and I shunshined to his side. I placed the goggles over his eyes and stood up before he could morph his eyes into the Aburame eyes. Yes, we must go, Naruto. So we can train you in the clan's way, I stated. He stared up at me and nodded. I placed an Aburame cloak around him and started heading out of the Haruno clan compound and towards my own compound. As we arrived at my compound, I walked in. Father, I can't sense anyone other than brother's chakra in the house. Where is mother? Asked Naruto. I looked down, saddened at the thought of my wife. My deceased wife. The wife that was no longer with us. She has passed on, Naruto. She died bravely in battle against the Nine-Tails Fox, I told him, and he looked down. It is all right. How about we go out back, and I show you how to get bugs inside your body? I asked, and he grinned while nodding in affirmative. Oh, and the Aburame don't show much emotion in public, all right? I told him, and he nodded. As I finished showing him how to open and close the holes on his hand, shoulder, neck, and legs that connect to the inside system where bugs are stored, I pointed at a Kikaichu floating towards his hand. It settled near the hole on his palm and then flew off. I was confused as to why it didn't go in. Maybe he's like me. Of course, how could I forget? He's my son. We are going to have to try another method, all right? I asked him, and he nodded. We walked to the left side of the compound where all the bugs were kept. Now close your eyes and feel out. Feel the bugs that call to you, the ones that are right for you. Once you find them, head towards the feeling, send out your chakra, and you will have bugs that correspond only to you. Just like I have Kikaichu that need to be fed more than the regular, about 3 times the amount. This means they can feed off my enemies faster, I told him. He nodded and closed his eyes. That's when it started. As I closed my eyes, I concentrated, looking for the bugs that were most comfortable with me. I searched hard with my senses. That's when I felt it. What is that feeling? Asked another part of me. I don't know, but it feels right. It feels like comfort. It's a feeling of extreme loyalty. It's not around here. It's outside the compound. I chakra ran towards the gate, jumped over it, and kept running as the feeling grew stronger. After 5 minutes of running with chakra and my father following me, I stopped. I felt it as close as I could and heard a gasp behind me. I turned to my father and opened my eyes. He looked surprised, which was notable considering the coat covering most of his face. He pointed behind me and bowed down. I looked behind me and gasped at what I saw. A giant rainbow-colored caterpillar was before me. I looked straight at it, and its antenna moved towards me. I stepped closer, knowing it was my bug. As I reached it, I placed a hand on its head and asked, "Can you understand me?" "Yes, young one," it said in a feminine voice. "I am Iris, queen of all insects. It is a pleasure to work with you," she said gracefully. "Is there any way you can shrink yourself so you can get into my insect system and I can have you with me at all times?" I asked her. She seemed to understand, and what she did next surprised me again. She nodded and then started to glow. When the glow died down, I could see a lot of tiny rainbow caterpillars. "Father, can all of them get into me?" I asked while turning to him. "Yes, they can, since your system is larger due to so much chakra being within you. Think of it as a dimensional jutsu that manipulates space," he explained. I nodded and spread my body on the floor. As I did that, I saw them all come towards me and slowly start pouring inside the pathways until none were left. "Naruto, you have received the greatest gift anyone in the Aburame clan could ever want. I am proud to be your father, and I will forever remain loyal to you. I must tell you something. Konoha plans on betraying you. All the clans are training you to become a weapon. They all think you are a demon. I know better, and I want you to forgive me," my father stated. "Father, may I see your memories?" I asked with an icy tone, aware that my hair was whipping around. He nodded and I approached him. I placed 2 fingers on his temple and delved into his mind. That's when I discovered the information about the ritual, the meetings, and discussions about me that had occurred. They hurt me. They betrayed me when I did nothing. I am innocent. They betrayed an innocent. They will pay slowly and painfully. For this, I will need time and plans. I will need allies. My siblings weren't part of this. They could side with me. I can show them what they did. I forgive you, but you and Shino must remain allies with me. I will continue to learn, I told him, and he nodded. This will be fun, especially since at the end of this month, I will have a day with the Hokage himself to spend with. Until then, all I can do is train. Naruto had been training in the clan's ways for a month, mastering almost everything and adding his own touch to certain techniques. He had also learned that if Iris touched someone or something with her antennae, she could locate it anywhere within this dimension. Naruto, today is the day you go with the Hokage. Will you carry out your plan? His father stated. Naruto nodded in response. I must catch him off guard to get a good look at the Forbidden Scroll. That way, my other half can memorize it, he explained, and his father nodded in understanding. There was a knock on the door, and as Naruto concentrated, he realized it was the Hokage accompanied by 4 ANBU guards. He would have to handle them, and he noted that one of them was Itachi. Perhaps he would check into Itachi's mind later when the plan was in action. Naruto, the Hokage is here for you, his father announced from the door. Alright, I'll be there in 5. I want to say goodbye to Shino, Naruto replied as he ran off to find his brother. Shino was someone he loved and cared about deeply. Sometimes, Naruto wondered if he felt more for his siblings than just familial love, but that was impossible unless he undid the blood ritual, which would only affect their relationships within the family. Shaking his head to clear his thoughts, Naruto walked down the hallway and found Shino. Hello, Shino. I'm going to miss you, he said with sad eyes. Shino was a good listener, speaking only when necessary, and they had grown close. I will miss you as well. You have become someone I cherish. I will await your return. Once we get to the academy, we will have more time to spend together, Shino replied with a sad smile. Naruto hugged him tightly and nodded. He impulsively squeezed Shino's hand before slowly letting it go as he walked away. Turning back, he saw Shino with his hands semi-stretched out, a look of sadness overtaking his features. Feeling a pang of guilt for leaving him behind, Naruto knew it had to be done. He walked out and headed toward the door. Looking up, he saw the Hokage smiling down at him, but that smile didn't seem sincere. Nodding, he grabbed the Hokage's hand and prepared to use the Shunshin technique to reach the Hokage tower. Once they arrived outside, Naruto walked in next to the Hokage, who was greeted by everyone. They passed the lady at the desk in front of the Hokage's office. Good day, Hokage-sama, she said, smiling at the Hokage before glaring at Naruto after he nodded at her. They entered his office, and the Hokage instructed Naruto to sit on the sofa in the corner. After waiting for a while, Naruto decided to check Itachi's mind. Surprisingly, Itachi's thoughts were very organized, and he realized that Itachi was aware of his presence. He needed to act quickly. Searching for any negative emotions, Naruto found none. Instead, he sensed pride and affection. Itachi would be a great ally. Glancing at the clock, he noted it was almost time for the plan to unfold. Itachi-san, I have a plan, and I'm going to need your help. Once I reach the Forbidden Scroll, alright? Naruto communicated with Itachi. He heard a soft thud, realizing Itachi had accidentally bumped his head on the concealed roof of the office. Alright, Naruto-chan, I'll help you out. From what you shared with your telepathic abilities while we were talking, you're going to use that jutsu. Just a warning, it won't work on Nico or Inu. Inu is used to all that, Itachi informed him. Naruto then cut the link and approached the Hokage. Old man. Look, I want to show you a technique I learned, he exclaimed, jumping up and down in excitement. Alright, calm down, Naruto, the Hokage replied with a smile. Naruto performed the clone hand sign, built up a small amount of chakra, and created 5 water clones from the moisture in the air. Very impressive, the Hokage began, but was cut off as Naruto made the ram hand sign, causing all the clones, including himself, to transform into a young adult version of himself, surrounded by mist that obscured his private parts. Hokage-sama, he said in a playful tone. As expected, the Hokage fell backward, a nosebleed evident, while one of the ANBU members collapsed, blood gushing from his nose. Naruto dashed to the wall behind the Hokage and pulled a book from the fake library, which slid forward to reveal a hidden library. Rushing to the far end, he spotted the Forbidden Scroll. As he reached for it, a katana was placed at his throat. Turning slightly, he saw Nico. A smirk crossed his face as Itachi landed behind him, activated his Sharingan, and swiftly knocked her out. He then erased her memory of the encounter. Turning around, Naruto pointed at Inu, who had a kunai at his neck. Itachi glanced aside and smacked Inu's head. "She's knocked out, thus," he said, and Naruto looked at him in confusion. "Hello, Naruto. My name is Kakashi Hatake. Your father was my sensei, and I had to pull that act off in case Nico saw me," Kakashi explained. "I see you as someone precious to me, not a demon like almost everyone else. I promise I will be on your side in this war. Itachi has filled me in. I'll keep watch in case the Hokage wakes up," he assured Naruto, who smiled back. Grabbing the scroll, Naruto quickly scanned its contents. "Got that other me?" he thought. "Got it," came the response. Nodding, he walked out, allowing Itachi to drag Nico back to her place. "When the old man wakes up, tell him I headed back to the Uchiha. I couldn't wait to see Sasuke again, all right?" he instructed them, and they nodded. "Bye, Kakashi," he said, sliding his hand under Kakashi's mask to kiss his cheek, then doing the same to Itachi. As he walked out, he shouted back, "Merry Christmas, old man." Naruto felt a surge of excitement as he prepared to meet his siblings. Today marked his 6th birthday, a day he had eagerly anticipated. Over the years, he had been able to connect with his siblings' minds, sharing the plans he had devised. They had all agreed to support him. As he walked alongside the old man, a smirk crept onto his face at their obliviousness. Shaking his head, he began to skip toward the Hokage's office, plugging in his earphones. He loved these earphones. They were powered by a small amount of chakra that activated a seal, allowing him to listen to music without any additional devices. With a smile, he skipped past the receptionist and kicked the doors open. His siblings turned to him, their faces lighting up when they saw him wearing his earphones. They understood how much he loved music, and he often felt a deep connection to it. "Come on, guys. The old man has a lot of paperwork to do. We can go to the park as long as Inu-san guards us," he said cheerfully, giving a finger gun gesture to the Hokage before spinning on his heels and rushing out the door, the music filling his ears. Once they arrived at the park, Naruto led them into the nearby forest. As they followed, he whistled and soon his animal friends came bounding toward him. "Kato, hello again. And you too, my little pup Paul," he exclaimed, laughing as they liked his face. He giggled and gently pushed them away, noting how much they had grown over the years, nearly reaching his height. He continued walking toward the surprise he had in store for them. After passing a few trees, he opened a hidden trapdoor that led beneath Konoha's walls. They walked for about 10 minutes until they reached another door leading outside. Stepping out, he looked around at the clearing surrounded by trees, with a large tree standing tall in the center, adorned with a wooden treehouse. He smirked as he heard gasps from his siblings behind him. "Welcome to the Senju hideout," he announced with a grin. "This is where our first Hokage would retreat when he needed space and time for himself. There are also many scrolls inside about the Senju. Let's go inside," he sang, ascending the stairs and unlocking the door with his blood, a privilege of his Senju lineage. He wished he had more Senju blood to use Mokutan release, but that was a thought for another time. Once inside, he sank into a bean-bag chair in the living room. "I love these," he laughed. "What are those?" Hinata asked, horrified, pointing at the bean-bag chairs. "You've never seen them? Come on, guys, get with the times. It's not like we're in some old manga or anime where we only use wooden chairs or sit on the ground." "My backside would hurt," he replied, rolling his eyes. "So, take a seat, and we'll discuss our plan for the academy, all right?" he added, as they all nodded and hesitantly settled into the beanbag chairs. "So, Naruto, how are we going to do this?" asked his little brother, who had a unique hairstyle. "It's not a duck butt," he yelled back, rolling his eyes again. "Well, we need to put on an act. Hinata-chan, you'll be the nervous girl who doesn't want to hurt anyone. You've been practicing your stuttering. Sasuke, you'll be the emo spoiled brat who wants to beat his older brother. Choji and Shikamaru, you'll hang back. Choji, pretend you don't have the strength you actually possess and act unenthusiastic about fighting. Shikamaru, show about 50% of your intelligence and be even lazier than usual. Shino, just keep being your quiet self. Ino, act like you like Sasuke and be rivals with Sakura. Sakura, you'll compete with Ino for Sasuke's attention. Kiba, you'll be dense and impulsive. I will play the class underachiever. We'll continue to work on our taijutsu, genjutsu, ninjutsu, shurikenjutsu, and other skills like kenjutsu and fuinjutsu. Once we graduate, we'll drop our masks and train hard for a few years. Then they all nodded, some looking pleased and others, like Kiba, appearing to have received the worst part of the plan. All right then, let's get back, everyone. The Hokage will get suspicious, Itachi instructed as they all ran to the park and then to the Hokage tower. Once everyone left home, I walked into the guest bedroom, which was mine for the day I spent with the Hokage, today my birthday. Thankfully, my siblings knew not to bring it up. From past experiences, they understood better. I thought of all the good times until I eventually fell asleep. Beep, 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 crash. The clock next to my bed went off, waking me up. Today is the beginning. Academy, here I come. I exclaimed. The end. It's been years. Now at 12 years old, Naruto was preparing for graduation in 3 days. They had all grown stronger, thanks to Kurama's training schedule and the clan training he had completed. Sasuke and Naruto had both achieved the Mangekyo Sharingan, just like Itachi. They had pushed themselves to their limits, meditating for 7 days to obtain it. Once they graduated, they planned to perform a 3-way eye exchange with the help of one of the legendary Sannin. They had exchanged a few words during Naruto's secret outings from the village, where he explored nearby towns while leaving shadow clones behind as replacements. As he reminisced, Naruto recalled a particular adventure. He had been walking through the streets of Tanzaka town after playing a game when he sensed a Senju presence nearby. He calmly approached a casino where he detected her chakra, using a transformation technique to disguise himself as a 19-year-old version of himself, complete with red flaming hair and bright hazel eyes, to slip past the guards. As he got closer, he spotted a blonde woman, Tsunade Senju, walking away from a poker game after losing too much. Come on, Shizen, let's give one of the slot machines a try. They're probably cheating, she said, clenching her fists. Naruto smirked as she sat down, and he released his transformation. Approaching her just as she was about to punch the machine, he caught her attention. What do you want, kid? She asked, her eyes filled with fury. Naruto rolled his eyes. My name is Naruto Uzumaki from the Hidden Leaf Village, and I seek something from you. Her expression shifted to amusement as she motioned for him to continue. How about we make a deal? I'll get you the money to pay your debts through these slot machines, and if I win, I get to challenge you to a fight. If I win, I'll try to convince you to be my ally. All right, kid. If you can't do it, you'll pay for as many rounds of sake as I can drink, she replied, eyeing his froggy pouch filled with coins. If you win, I'll even throw in this necklace. Naruto stared at the necklace, realizing its significance to the Senju clan. Prepare your biggest storage scrolls because things are about to get crazy, he said, inserting coins into all the slots on her side. He then dashed forward, smashing all the levers down. As he reached the end, the machines blared, "Winner!" and money flooded the floor. Tsunade watched in awe as he walked out, telling her to hurry up. Once she stepped outside, she smirked. Well, kid, thanks for the cash. Now you just need to beat me in a fight. I doubt that will happen. I'll only need to use my finger. In response, Naruto did what any rational person would do. He showed her his middle finger while smirking. He heard Shizun stifle a giggle and turned to see Tsunade's furious expression. Begin, shouted Shizun. As soon as the command was given, Naruto ran at half his speed, appearing as a blur. He wrapped his middle finger around her extended finger, pulling it up to break her stance. He then elbowed her across the face, causing her to flinch. Dropping down, he sweep-kicked her, making her fall with a thud. Twirling around, he pulled out a kunai and held it to her throat, looking down at her with a determined expression. Tsunade Senju, I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Uchiha Hyuga Akimichi Nara Yamanaka Inazuka Haruno Aburame, son of the major clans of Konoha. You've let your fears hold you back, and your punishment is this. If you want to make up for lost time, Train yourself back to your former strength. Conquer your fear of Konoha and blood, and you'll be unstoppable once again. I'll be waiting. He shared his memories of what Konoha had done to him, and she looked up at him, nodding in understanding. As she got up, she placed a hand on his head, smiling. Well, Naruto, I would like to adopt you as well. There's a good chance you'll have Mokutan release after this. Is that all right with you? She asked, and he nodded, smiling to himself. That day, a new last name was added. He was now also a Senju. Occasionally, he would sneak out to meet his mother for medical and Senju techniques. With a sigh, he fell asleep. The next day at the academy, Naruto walked in to find not many people present, so he took a seat next to Sasuke, who discreetly smiled at him. Suddenly, Sakura and Ino burst in, arguing over who would sit next to Sasuke. They both turned to Naruto. Naruto, what are you doing? I need to sit next to Sasuke, they yelled, and he covered his ears. Sakura then punched him on the head and quietly apologized. He nodded, falling out of his seat. But Sakura-chan, he whined, and she glared at him, though he knew it was an act. Sitting up, he said, I don't see what everyone sees in this guy. As the argument continued, he jumped onto the desk in front of Sasuke, looking him in the eye. Just then, someone pushed him, causing him to lose his balance. He grabbed the sides of the bench, but his momentum carried him forward, and their lips touched. A tingle ran down his body, reaching his gut. He pushed slightly against Sasuke, not realizing he was enjoying it. Sasuke responded by pushing back and slipped his tongue into Naruto's mouth, but Naruto pulled back, surprised. He hadn't known Sasuke felt that way about him, and he realized he liked him too. Unsure how to approach the situation, he decided to play it cool and discuss it later. Bleg, he said, trying to wipe his mouth just as Iruka walked in, preventing any further awkwardness. Everyone sit down, he yelled, using the big head jutsu, and we all complied. I sat next to Sasuke again while Sakura took a seat beside me. Today, we were taking the Genin exams, starting with the Shuriken Jutsu test. I'll skip this part. Everyone got perfect scores because Naruto informed us that once the Genin exams began, we could drop our masks. Iruka was beyond shocked. All his clan students and Naruto had perfect scores. Well, this is really surprising. Now, onto the written exams, he said as we walked into the classroom where Mizuki was waiting. We all sat down and began our tests, 100 questions. I noticed these questions were at the Chunin level. Easy enough. I filled them all out in less than 25 minutes and looked up at Mizuki, who was smirking. Instead of handing my test to Mizuki when he came to collect them, I stood up, walked over to Iruka, handed him my test, and sat back down. He looked at the test in shock. Naruto, these are Chunin-level questions. How did you? He asked, and I just shrugged. He then glanced at Mizuki with a questioning look. Sorry, must have given him the wrong test, Mizuki replied through clenched teeth. Everyone received perfect scores, and Naruto even got extra points. Next is the Taijutsu test, Iruka announced. We all went outside and I was last. Everyone else had passed. I was up against Mizuki instead of Iruka. Begin, stated Iruka, and I waited for Mizuki to attack. He charged at me with high genin speed and attempted a sweep kick, but I jumped over him, grabbed his hair while upside down and landed. I pulled hard, sending Mizuki flying past me, out of the ring and into the academy wall, unconscious. Naruto, you pass, Iruka stated. Next up is the ninjutsu part, he said after signaling a medic nin to assist Mizuki. As everyone else came out with headbands, I was called in. Naruto, perform the clone jutsu, he instructed, and I smirked. I did the clone hand sign, and over 50 shadow clones appeared around the classroom. Iruka fell over in shock after checking my full score. I grabbed a headband and wrapped it around my neck. I walked out and signaled to all my siblings that we could go home. I headed back to the Hokage. Tonight, we leave. I snuck around the Hokage tower. My objective was my father and mother's clan scrolls. The Hokage had kept them locked in the library I had broken into last time. I approached the woman at the desk, showed her a senbon, and as she looked at it, I dropped it in front of her so it landed straight and flicked it slightly so it hit her neck. She fell forward with a thud. I smirked and walked past her. I stood in front of the Hokage's office door, channeled chakra into my legs, and kicked the doors with all my strength. They broke off their hinges and flew toward the Hokage, but an Umbu jumped in front of it and took the hit. Poor Nico took the blow directly. Her mask broke as she fell, knocked out. The other Umbu drew his blade, but I snapped my fingers, and Itachi stood in front of him, Sharingan active, and knocked out the Umbu. I turned to see Kakashi with a kunai to the Hokage's throat, Sharingan active. I approached the Hokage and made him fall asleep with my Mangekyo, ensuring he would wake up in 3 days. I'm tired of all the trouble I've endured, and you will regret it, I projected to the entire leaf. I turned around and signaled for Itachi and Kakashi to follow me. I created some clones to raid the library and others to gather people from the leaf who hadn't wronged me. I would implant everything I went through into them. If they wished to join me in my new village, they would follow the clones to the gate. I jumped onto the rooftop of the Hokage Tower and looked toward the Hokage's monument. No more. Not again. Never ever again, I said while glaring at the third's face. I launched a fireball propelled with wind waves, then created a water ball infused with lightning. I kanonied the water ball with earth bullets. The mix of elements destroyed the third Hokage's face. I turned away from the explosion and chakra jumped to the main gate, where some people were gathered with clones and the clan heirs. As I descended, they all looked at me. We are leaving, I told them. Naruto. I heard from my left and saw Tsunade running toward me, hugging me tightly. As I embraced her back, I stomped the floor and poured some blood from my finger where I had stomped. A seal formed, revealing the entrance to the Senju treehouse. Come along, everyone in here. The seals in this pathway will make us walk for about 5 minutes, but we will travel to a secret point far from Konoha, I explained, and they all cheered, with someone mentioning youth. We walked inside, and the entrance closed behind us. As we arrived, I watched as everyone gasped at the treehouse and clearing. I saw my animal friends roaming the area. I had been training a lot with them as well. Here, this is where the village will start. The next major village, the village hidden in the dark. Tsunade shall be the first Kuraikage while I train even more. Now to build it, I announced. Hey Kara, can you lend me some help building a village? I asked him with an amused voice. Sure, focus on your Senju chakra pool and the nature chakra around you, he instructed, and I did as I was told. I could feel my chakra multiplying, not only because of Kurama but also due to the Kitsune Sage mode. That mode you have just acquired is one that can only belong to those I deem worthy. It has the ability to merge with other sage modes. I nodded, made some hand signs I didn't recognize, and said, Kitsune Demon Senju Mix Style, Dark Heavenly Creation. When I opened my eyes, I saw the most beautiful village anyone had ever seen, at least twice as big as Konoha. 5 mountains loomed in the distance. One spouted lava, the second crystal clear water, the third was so tall it reached past the clouds, and the fourth was rich with metals and minerals like diamonds, gold, emeralds, and chakra metals. The fifth one had many tunnels that could be used as shelter in case of emergencies. In the dead center of the village was a giant mansion-like building with the Senju treehouse as a backyard. All the houses were beautiful and had their own unique designs. I looked past the walls surrounding the village and spotted dark energy around the village, forming a giant sphere. I asked Kurama in my mind, Hey Kurama, what's that? He replied, It is a sphere of darkness that is transparent from the inside. Those who aren't keyed in by you will continue to run at it only to come back out where they came from. If they have bad intentions, then it will freeze them on the spot so you can capture and interrogate them. I thanked Kurama for helping me with this dream and turned around to see everyone with their mouths open, crying at the beauty. I then instructed everyone to introduce themselves one by one. Naruto yelled for everyone to line up and introduce themselves. They stood on a stone path that led to many houses. The first in line was a man with his daughter, both of whom he knew well. He introduced himself as Tuchi Ichiraku and his daughter as I am Ichiraku. They expressed their gladness to follow Naruto as their leader and promised to contribute all they could with their abilities to the village. Naruto smiled and nodded, gesturing for them to stand behind him. Next was a male with dark hair who was smoking. He introduced himself as Asuma Sarutobi and explained that he left the village due to the mistreatment and unfairness he witnessed. He declared his loyalty was no longer with his father, whom he felt did not deserve such a title. Asuma offered his services as a jounin and his clan scrolls, including a summoning contract he had taken before leaving. He also brought along his girlfriend Kurinai, a skilled genjutsu mistress, and his cousin Kanomaru Sarutobi, who had been mistreated by his own family. Asuma's voice was filled with anger at first but ended with sadness. Naruto nodded towards him and smiled at Kurinai. He noticed little Kanomaru hiding behind them and walked over to him, transferring a thought of comfort. Kanomaru slowly started to fall asleep, and Naruto caught him before he fell, placing him in Asuma's arms. After Asuma, Niji stepped up, and Naruto motioned for him to stand behind him. Following Niji was a girl with her hair styled in 2 buns. She introduced herself as Tenten Buruzuai and expressed her desire to become a weapons mistress, mentioning her skills in Fuinjutsu. Naruto nodded in acknowledgement. Then came a boy wearing green who enthusiastically declared, "I am Rock Lee. The power of youth is strong within you." He began to cry, and another similarly dressed individual came by to hug him, and they both moved to a corner of the village to comfort each other. After a while, over 60 people were introduced and chose their houses. Naruto turned around and saw Tsunade talking to most of the male clan heirs while cracking her knuckles, and the girls watched with smirks. Tsunade warned them to take good care of Naruto before walking off. Naruto gave them a confused look but shook it off. As they walked to the Hokage's castle and into Naruto's room, one of the heirs said, "Naruto, we have something important to tell you." They all sat on the bed, which was full size, and Naruto frowned as they looked at him seriously. One of them started to speak, but Naruto cut him off, asking if it was about their feelings for him. The heir nodded, and Naruto smiled. The heir continued, "It's also about all of us liking you," which made Naruto's eyes widen in shock. "I feel the same. I just didn't know how to tell you guys because I didn't know how you would react," Naruto admitted, feeling relieved and crying from happiness. "So does this mean we're all a thing?" The heirs looked at him and replied, "For you, anything, Naruto." Naruto smiled and sat on Kiba's lap while they all leaned back together and fell asleep, each making physical contact with him. When Naruto woke up, he noticed it was already 8. As he shifted, he felt something hard poking him from behind and turned to see Kiba looking at him sheepishly, apologizing for his situation. Naruto, feeling unprepared for that, ran into the bathroom, exclaiming Tsunade's name. He wasn't ready for that yet, he still wanted proper dates. As he listened at the door, he heard a stampede of footsteps from the hallway and the door to his room opening. Then he heard a few smacks and Kiba yelling apologies in high-pitched tones, which made Naruto smirk silently. All he needed now was a good warm bath. Naruto had been reflecting on the past year and a half. Now 14, soon to be 15, he had seen the village grow exponentially. He had mastered his various modes and most of his abilities. However, relationships were a different matter. He found himself in a complex situation, involved with Kiba, Shikamaru, Shino, and Sasuke. He hoped there wouldn't be more, as he doubted he could manage the complications that would arise from being involved with so many people. A while back, they had undone the adoption ritual for the main clans, but he still retained the bloodlines and abilities, simply removing the familial ties. One morning, he got out of bed, despite Kiba's attempts to pull him back and Shikamaru's groans. "Guys, please, I need to get up. I have a mission today," he said, rolling his eyes. They groaned again but eventually nodded. Sasuke stood up and got ready alongside him. Naruto glanced at him, and Sasuke grunted in response. After finishing his preparations, he headed to the kitchen to make breakfast. As he cooked, Sasuke entered the kitchen. "Of course it smells good, it has tomatoes," Naruto joked, earning a smile from Sasuke. Once breakfast was finished, the others woke up and joined them at the table. "Well, it's time for Sasuke and me to leave. I'll see you soon," he said, waving goodbye as he walked out the door, with Sasuke following closely behind. They hopped from rooftop to rooftop until they reached the front of the Kuraikage's mansion. After knocking on the door, Tsunade called them in. Inside, Naruto noticed some empty bottles on her desk and Sakura standing in front of her. "Don't worry, they are just sparkling water bottles," Tsunade said with amusement. Naruto nodded and asked about their mission. Tsunade handed him a scroll. This scroll contains an offer of recruitment to one of the 7 swordsmen currently in Wave. Your task is to travel to Wave, eliminate the mafia boss Gato, and assist Tazuna, the bridge builder overseeing the construction of a trading bridge. Understood? They nodded in agreement before teleporting to the main gate with a soft poof. Sakura and Naruto exchanged glances and nodded. "We'll move quickly towards Wave. Conserve chakra in your legs, and we should arrive in less than 30 minutes. Once we get there, we'll use an illusion to blend in with the locals. We'll find Tazuna, help him with the bridge, and then locate Zabuza Momochi. After that, we'll gather information and confront Gato." Understood? They both nodded, and they began running toward Wave. After 25 minutes of running, they sensed Chunin-level chakra pools on the road. They pretended to stop for a drink before continuing. When they reached a puddle, Naruto dropped an exploding tag into it and performed the explosion hand sign while walking away. The screams of the 2 hidden ninjas echoed behind them. "Well, look who we have here." "Sasuke, activate your Sharingan," Naruto said. Sasuke activated his Mangekyo and used Tsukuyomi to extract information from one of the ninjas. Afterward, Sasuke turned to Naruto and reported, "Gato's men are terrorizing all of Wave and draining them of money. He has also hired Zabuza and his apprentice, who wears a hunter ninja mask." Naruto nodded, using thin chakra-controlled strings to incapacitate the ninjas. He stored their heads in a scroll for the bounty before continuing to run. After 5 more minutes, they finally arrived in Wave. They chakra jumped onto the half-constructed bridge and searched for Tazuna, the bridge builder. Spotting someone standing in front of a table with the bridge's blueprints, Naruto approached. "Excuse me, are you Tazuna?" he asked. Tazuna nodded after taking a swig of his sake. "We're here to help you build the bridge," Naruto said, and Tazuna began giving them instructions. After a few minutes, feeling bored, Naruto created 800 shadow clones, and the bridge was completed in no time. Just as they were about to head toward Gato's base, mist began to roll in. A voice attempted to speak, but Naruto interrupted by performing a wind vortex jutsu to clear the mist. "Hey, why did you do that, brat?" exclaimed a man with no brows. "I come with an offer. Join me in my new village, the village hidden in the darkness. Anyone is accepted, and it's steadily growing into a main village. You would be treated with respect and automatically become a jounin, taking on a team of genin. I can also help you deal with Gato in 10 seconds, Naruto said, gesturing behind the man to Gato and his army. Zabuza, visibly annoyed, replied, "Leave the squirt to me," before swinging his sword. Naruto smirked, chakra jumping above the army and performing several hand signs, ending with the tiger sign. He fell straight down, unleashing a torrent of fire that engulfed the enemies. "Fox fire style, meteor crash," he declared, leaving only Gato, who was hiding behind some cement blocks that began to melt. "Zabuza," Naruto called, indicating Gato. Zabuza, initially stunned by Naruto's display, quickly regained his composure, smirking as he appeared behind Gato, swiftly dispatching him. "If you want, go raid his base. Meet up at Tazuna's place, and we'll head back," Naruto instructed, though Zabuza seemed hesitant. "Haku is coming as well," he mentioned, pointing to the ice user Sakura was engaged with. "Take him, I sense he could be one of your potential allies," Naruto said, as Kurama echoed the sentiment. He then gave Zabuza a seal that would summon him to the center of the village, where new members would be accepted. I then grabbed Haku and took off his mask, revealing a beautiful face. I moved one of his bangs to the side and whispered, "You're coming with me." I placed him on my back and looked towards Zabuza, telling him I would take Haku. He could meet up with us once he was done looting. As I walked around the village, I thought about the next mission I was going to undertake. After I got Zabuza past the wards and completed the acceptance ritual, I observed how Zabuza and Haku interacted. I wished I had something like that. That was my new goal. I would find a way to bring back my parents, to feel the love that I could never feel before, aside from Kurama, that is. Sorry about that, Kit. I really am. How they treated you and what they wanted to do to you, I despise them for it. You know I will always treat you and see you as my son. I'm here to protect you, train you, and help you grow. I'm sorry for all the pain I caused you, Kurama said, his voice filled with pain and regret. I will be here and more, not only because I love you, Kit, but to make up for all that I caused you. I'm sorry, he added, his tone sad at the end. Don't worry, Q, it wasn't your fault. Both of us know that only I could have kept you in me because of my Uzumaki blood, I reassured him. I heard him respond with a soft sound. You okay in there, Kurama? I asked. He simply replied with a quick yes. I wonder what the guys are doing? I pondered. I looked around for Sasuke first, hopping from rooftop to rooftop until I found his chakra signature at Ino's house. I wondered what he was doing there. I jumped onto the window and climbed in. A strange noise came from Ino's room. No, it can't be. I whispered to myself, fear creeping into my voice. I walked to Ino's room and opened the door slowly. What I saw inside made me want to curl up on the floor and cry. Sasuke was on Ino's bed, above her, with her eyes closed and hands above her head, held there by Sasuke's own hands. I didn't want to believe what I saw, but there was no denying it. I was being cheated on. I looked at his back as he leaned down to lay next to Ino. As he settled there, she opened her eyes and grinned at me when she spotted me. I felt like ice water was dumped on me, a bitter taste filling my mouth, accompanied by the salty taste of tears I hadn't noticed. I loved her as a sibling, and what just happened hurt me deeply. I decided to leave, turning on my heels and slamming the window shut so hard that it shattered once I was outside. I rushed to the mansion and into Tsunade's office. Now, Naruto, you can't always bar, she started, but I interrupted with a hug. I began sobbing as she held me tightly. After a while, I quieted down. Now tell me what happened, she asked, but I didn't feel like talking about it. I'm sorry, Tsunade, but I don't think I can right now. I'm headed to the Shadow Forest. I need to visit Iris. The last time I saw her, she told me to leave her in the Shadow Forest for a month. That was exactly 1 month ago, I explained. She looked at me sympathetically and nodded. I jumped and leapt around the place until I made it to the forest. As I walked in, I felt a sense of home and comfort coming from the west side of the forest. Iris, I whispered to myself. That had to be her. I followed the feeling until I arrived at a giant tree. On that tree was what looked to be a massive cocoon. Iris, that must be Iris in her next form, I thought aloud. That would be correct, young one, she said as bright light began to pour out of cracks that formed on her when she spoke. But this is my ultimate form. My final form. She bellowed as a pair of wings, larger than the tree itself, emerged from the glow, revealing Iris in her final form as a butterfly. Whoa, Iris, you're so huge and strong-looking as well as powerful, I commented, looking around at the trees that had been completely torn away, roots and all. She laughed at my odd expression. Now, Naruto, catch me up on things, she said, and I fell back into my sour mood. I explained everything that had happened up until today. That Ino girl must have done something to his mind. He loves you way too much to let you go so easily, she said. I face-bombed. Of course, how did I not think of that before? I muttered, shaking my head. Iris, I also need help on a search journey. I am going to do that, I stated. Oh, so it is time for her revival? She questioned, and I nodded. Very well, young one, I shall aid you, she declared as she divided and then entered me again. This will be interesting. It had been a few months since Naruto left to complete his private mission. A lot had happened in this village. Sometimes I even thought it was more eventful than Konoha. Suddenly, Sakura ran into my office with a look of panic written all over her now pale face. Tsunade-sama. He's back, and he brought other shinobi. We need to sound the acceptance ritual signal, she exclaimed in a panic. I nodded and pressed the button on my desk, which drained some of my chakra and sent it into the air. Alarms blared around the village for 5 minutes while Sakura left, and I walked out of the mansion, only to be greeted by everyone in the village surrounding the pedestal where the ritual is made by placing blood and chakra, as well as swearing to serve the village people for their safety above all. Right in front of the pedestal was Sakura, facing the gates and looking at some hooded figures. Suddenly, the figures shined right in front of Sakura, who stepped back in shock. Apparently, she saw one of their faces. The hooded figures took off their hoods to reveal Orochimaru, Naruto, and Kushina Uzumaki. Hello, Tsunade. You haven't changed much. Tsunade's POV. Hello, Tsunade. You haven't changed much. I stared at the person in front of me, bewildered. What? How are you alive? Why is Orochimaru here with you? My mind raced with questions, and I felt slightly dizzy, but I maintained my posture, ready to protect my village and fight for everyone's lives. I'll explain that, Naruto said. You see, one of my objectives was to bring back my parents, Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. The only person rumored to have the ability to bring back the dead was Orochimaru. In my search for Orochimaru's whereabouts, I destroyed many of his bases. After weeks of searching and gathering information from people at the destroyed bases, Orochimaru came to me instead. I defeated him, spared his life, and learned the truth about his past afterward. I furrowed my eyebrows in confusion. What do you mean the truth behind his history? I asked, my tone edged with skepticism. Sarutobi Hiruzen, our dear sensei, teamed up with none other than Danzo, the leader of the Root organization. The experiments that were blamed on me were not my doing. They belonged to Danzo and that old monkey. One night, while I was searching one of their labs, I gathered all the notes and experiments into sealing scrolls, which I then sealed into one storage scroll. Hiruzen came in with Konoha Shinobi and somehow convinced them that I was the one responsible for so many labs and experiments. The rumor spread like wildfire. I had no choice but to flee the leaf. I then decided to go to every single Root lab base to collect the experiments and prisoners. Each time I reached a base, the Root agents retreated and abandoned it. Once they did, I evacuated the prisoners and experiments to my village, the Village of Sound. The people evacuated were offered either a place in my ranks or a normal life in the village, Orochimaru explained. Tears streamed down Orochimaru's face. I had to abandon someone very important to me. The old man Sarutobi got to her. I plan on getting her back and removing the curse seal those BSTRDs placed on her. After I finished clearing the last base, there was Naruto. He instantly recognized me due to my snake scent. After we fought and he spared me, he approached me with an offer. An offer to ally our villages, to help each other, to destroy the Hidden Leaf Village. The offer for my revenge. An offer of forgiveness. The opportunity to get my daughter back in exchange for the notes on the resurrection jutsu, he said, emotions coursing through his voice. I understood. I listened to everyone around me as they protested against the Leaf's actions. Once I had the notes, I adjusted them, improving them with Kurama's help. The modifications allowed me to bring back people from the dead with their souls intact and without needing their bodies. All I needed was my blood, my chakra, some seals, and for Kushina, 1/6 of Kurama's demonic chakra. I then realized that if I used 3/4 of Kurama's chakra on a wide-scale resurrection jutsu, I could bring back Uzushigakure residents, my clan, my family. We will save that for a month before the invasion. As I searched for my father's soul to bring him back, I realized that it wasn't possible, Naruto said, his voice tinged with sadness. What do you mean? You brought back Kushina. Why couldn't you bring back Minato? I asked, curiosity piqued. His shoulders tensed, and Kushina placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. But he never died, he replied. I took a step back, shocked. What do you mean the fourth Hokage never died? How was the Kyuubi sealed in you then? I asked, confusion flooding my mind. Well, you can't bring back something that never died in the first place. The fact that he never came for me must mean that he is captured within Konoha. As for how my father sealed Kurama without dying, it must mean the Shinigami spared him and took my mother instead as a nearby sacrifice, he said, a pained expression on his face. I nodded and walked up to them. In order to be part of this village, you must be accepted by the village itself. Spill some blood on the sigil, and you will be judged, I said, adopting my Kage voice. I glanced beside me and saw Sakura, who had fainted from the weight of everything we had just learned. Ayumu, go ahead, I instructed. He stepped up to the sigil, slicing his palm and letting blood with a purple hue spill onto it. The sigil then turned bright, a good sign, a sign of acceptance. Accepted! I shouted, hugging Orochimaru as he laughed and looked around at everyone cheering. Kushina, your turn for judgment, I said with a smile. Kushina approached the sigil, sliced her palm, and placed her blood on it, which burned bright. Accepted! I yelled, running to hug Kushina while everyone cheered. Naruto's POV. After my mom was accepted, I scanned the crowd for the blonde who had tried to take my Sasuke. I found someone staring into my eyes, Ino. I walked up to her, noticing that everyone had fallen silent and that Sakura had sat up. I stood in front of her, looking into her eyes with a smirk. You're in trouble, I whispered, knowing everyone heard me. I placed my hand on her cheek softly, softening my stare. Get out of Ino's head! I yelled, pulling my hand back and slamming it down, making her drop to the floor unconscious. I pressed my index finger to her forehead and entered her mindscape, evading all the traps and shields in her mental walls. I landed in a field full of flowers, a cage with Ino inside, and a man. How did he know? That beastly demon, he exclaimed, and I recognized him immediately. Inoichi, my father, even though I had undone the ritual. I walked up behind him, and Ino looked at me in relief. Naruto! You came to save me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, she exclaimed, and I smirked as Inoichi turned around, his expression one of shock. I interrupted him by grabbing his head with both hands on either side and pulling until he disintegrated into dust that flew away with the wind, leaving Ino's mind. Thank you, Naruto. You know I would never do those things to you, she said as I freed her. I nodded and hugged her. We need to get back to the real world, I told her, and we both left her mindscape. What was that? Tsunade asked. Inoichi had invaded Ino's body with the advanced mind tracker clanjutsu, I explained, and she understood. I was starting to feel a bit tired, so I turned to everyone. I am tired now, so I shall take my leave. Mom, once you are both ready for a house, just pick any one that isn't occupied, I told them, and they nodded. I then rooftop hopped to my room. As I opened my room, I took in the scent my mates left behind. They must spend a lot of time in here. I turned on the light and looked towards my bed, nearly screaming when I saw Itachi and Kakashi sitting there. Naruto, we need to talk, they said in unison. I gulped and nodded, hoping it wouldn't be too bad. I nervously sat on a chair in front of them, studying their expressions. They were not joking around, this was serious. I wondered what had happened. I looked towards Kakashi, who was frowning at me. Then I turned to Itachi, who was smiling softly, which calmed me down but also put me on edge. What's going on, guys? I asked nervously. Well, little Naruchan, we decided to. Kakashi glanced at Itachi and removed his face mask, turning towards me with one of the most beautiful smiles I had ever seen. We decided to join your little group. We were talking a while back and realized that we both had feelings for you, Kakashi said. I looked at them both in shock, my mouth slightly open. I think you broke him, Kakashi, Itachi remarked, smirking as Kakashi nodded towards me. I was still in shock but noticed Kakashi slowly moving closer to me, as was Itachi. What are yo? I started, but I was cut off when Kakashi pressed his lips against mine, and Itachi kissed my neck, trailing kisses until he found a spot that elicited a strange sound from me. I flushed red and pulled away, looking at them. All right, you can be in. Jay, just please don't do that again. Or at least not yet, I told them, glaring as Kakashi laughed and Itachi smirked even more. I was about to get up when Kakashi pulled me back into another kiss. I widened my eyes, but then the door slammed open, and I quickly stepped back, turning my head towards the door, red-faced. There stood my mom, holding a frying pan, her mouth slightly agape. What is? Naruto? What? She stammered, taking in our situation before squealing and hugging both Kakashi and me. I knew you were gay, Naruto, but Kakashi? The ship must sail. Oh my gosh, I can already imagine little Narukashis running around the house, she began, but I cut her off by pulling Itachi in with us. Kakashi isn't the only one. I said, and she looked at me with wide eyes before fainting with a mumble of, "So many grandchildren." I stared down at her and shrugged. "Well, I'm going to see Tsunade now, so I'll talk to you all later," I said, jumping out of the window and speeding to the mansion where Tsunade was. I landed on the windowsill and propped myself inside. "Grandma Tsunade," I yelled, tackling her in a hug. "Do you have any missions for me?" I asked, looking at her with hopeful eyes. "I was planning on giving you some time off, actually. You've done so much for this village. Heck, you created the village. I think it's only fair." She was cut off by the sound of an alarm going off. "That's the intruder outside the village wall signal," she said, and we both ran out to see some shinobi heading in one direction. We followed them and stepped outside the barrier surrounding the village. Tsunade walked in front of the line of shinobi and looked at the group of people approaching us. They were wearing trench coats with hoods. "What is your business in this village?" Tsunade asked the group. They stopped a few feet in front of us and took off their hoods. Standing there were Anko, Yamato, and Jiraiya himself. "We have come to take back what is ours and end the life of a certain snake." "Haim, come on, you have to reason. You're siding with the bad guy," Jiraiya said, stepping forward. I felt anger rise within me and stepped between them. "Jiraiya, you have no right to decide what is wrong or right when you did nothing to oppose the Leaf's plan to betray me," I said, crossing my arms. He looked at me, lifting a brow. "You're foul. I would have done something if they weren't correct about you being evil. You taking our resources and shinobi proves that. You aren't even human, you're just a filthy demon. You killed your father and mother," he said, disgust lacing his voice. I looked down, realizing he was blinded by the beliefs of the Leaf. Shame, as my godfather, he should have known better. I looked up and met his eyes. "Forget you," I said, snapping my fingers. Next to me were Orochimaru, my mother, and Kakashi. "For your information, Jiraiya, your village has done more harm to everyone around them and themselves than anyone could imagine," my mother said, making Jiraiya pale. Orochimaru stepped forward and stated that the curse mark placed on Anko was the work of that troublesome figure, aided by an old war hawk. Kakashi turned to Yamato, asking why he was there. Yamato looked at his comrades and shook his head, moving closer to their side. He explained that he needed an excuse to leave the village and join them. The third Hokage had thought he had erased most of Yamato's memories, but he remembered the tests he had endured until the man was satisfied. Yamato declared he wasn't foolish enough to follow someone blindly after what had been done to him. He stood behind Kakashi, who nodded in understanding. They all turned to Anko, who seemed uncertain about whether to believe them. The narrator assured her that they were telling the truth, revealing their expertise as a seal master capable of removing the curse mark if she wished. Anko, encouraged by this, rushed to their side. Tsunade then stepped next to the narrator, glaring at Jiraiya, warning him that the village hidden in the darkness was no friend of the Leaf and that they should leave before a war began. Jiraiya, frustrated, vanished in a flash, knowing he wouldn't stand a chance against them. The narrator walked back into the village, whispering to Orochimaru that he needed to talk to her. Naruto groaned and rubbed his face as he sat up, feeling the warmth around him. He opened his eyes and giggled at the sight of Kiba, Shikamaru, and Kakashi piled together on the bed. He turned his head and saw Itachi next to Sasuke, both sound asleep. To his side, Shino was sitting quietly, watching him. When Shino noticed Naruto's gaze, he smiled warmly, making Naruto feel fuzzy inside. Excited, Naruto hugged Shino tightly and mentioned he had to go to Tsunade's office for a mission to Suna. Shino nodded and let go, promising to inform the others. After getting ready, Naruto pecked each of his friends on the cheek and jumped out the window, rushing toward the Hokage mansion. On his way, he spotted his mother at a training field and felt relieved to see her healthy and ready to fight. Kushina greeted him, asking what he was doing there. He shared his new mission to Suna for an alliance, and she warned him to be careful and to visit her upon his return, as she had important information about their ancestry. After a heartfelt hug, Naruto called out a goodbye and continued on his way. Upon arriving at the mansion, he knocked on the door and was called inside. Tsunade looked up from her desk and greeted him, asking if he was ready. He nodded, and she handed him a scroll meant for the new Kazekage. Surprised to learn there was a new Kazekage, he learned that it was the previous Kazekage's youngest son, Gaara, who had killed his father in a fit of insanity. Tsunade explained that Gaara could manipulate sand and that the scroll contained details about the resources they would provide to Suna. Tsunade expressed her desire for Naruto to take on more responsibilities soon, joking about her age and her stress relief methods. Naruto playfully suggested she should stop drinking so much, and she dismissed him with a groan. He hopped out the window and made his way toward the gates, starting his journey to Suna. 2 days later, Naruto stretched as he approached the entrance to Suna. He informed the guards of his business with the Kazekage and waited. Soon, 2 figures dropped down in front of him. Kankuro introduced himself and his sister, Temari. After Naruto presented the scroll detailing the peace treaty, they looked uneasy but led him to the Kazekage's office. Upon entering, they found Gaara seated, and Kankuro began to speak but was interrupted by Gaara's sharp command for their mother to leave them alone. Naruto narrowed his eyes, using a mental link to explore Gaara's memories and mindscape. He discovered a third presence within Gaara's mind. With a decisive snap, he expelled the third entity and adjusted Gaara's seal, allowing him to sleep peacefully and maintain his sanity. Turning around, he found Temari and Kankuro confronting him, weapons drawn. Temari demanded to know what he had done to their brother. Naruto laughed lightly, swatting their weapons aside and sitting on Gaara's desk. He introduced himself as Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Hyugana Akimichi Yamanaka Inazukaru no Aburame Senju, declaring himself an Uzumaki-level seal master. He reassured them that he had fixed their brother's seal, allowing him to rest and regain his sanity. One that was haunting him with images of his mother. Now I think it's best for you to leave him alone to rest. I will be here and make sure he is okay until he wakes up. They both still looked uneasy but widened their eyes when I mentioned my last name. They slowly nodded and backed out, closing the door behind them. I turned and saw Gaara sound asleep, as if he had never slept before. Which he probably hadn't. He looked so peaceful, so calm. He seemed like he couldn't hurt anyone and just wanted this, needed this. He needed affection from someone who could understand his pain and struggles. He needed me. He needed us at the village. Slowly, I leaned my face towards his, inch by inch until we were almost touching, and then our foreheads touched. I concentrated and transferred myself into his mindscape. I looked around and was surprised at how plain it was. Sand was everywhere, like a desert. There were no walls, just open air and pure darkness. The one thing that caught my eye was a small temple-like building a couple of 100 feet away. It was giving off light that illuminated the whole desert in a soft, eerie yellowish glow. I walked up to its entrance and heard voices talking inside. I smiled once I realized it was the One-Tails apologizing for the mental instability and restlessness he had put Gaara through. I retreated from his mind, knowing it would end well. Now I would just have to wait until Gaara woke up. Somewhere deep within Konoha, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Danzo Shimura, and a blonde-headed man stood in front of gathering shinobi forces. The Hokage walked forth and looked at the shinobi gathered with hardened eyes. Soon we will attack. The enemy village has taken many of our resources and people. We have to destroy them and get everything back. We will succeed by the will of fire, he exclaimed firmly. What most occupants in the area failed to notice was that a shinobi from Suna had infiltrated their forces. He needed to inform the Kazekage as soon as possible. Gaara blinked, trying to clear his eyes from sleepiness. He had never slept like that before. He yawned and stretched slightly. At least I'll be able to sleep like that daily now, he thought to himself happily. He glanced over at the blonde sitting in the chair, head tilted back, slumped and breathing low. He looked so beautiful, so calm, so peaceful, so innocent. By the time he had finished those thoughts, he was right beside the chair, his face hovering above the sleeping ninjas. He smiled and leaned in, capturing his lips with his own, relishing in the new feeling of having NTMT contact with someone. The boy suddenly shifted slightly, slowly opening his eyes and then widening them. He quickly pulled away and tilted his head in confusion. "What are you doing?" he asked, slightly red-faced. He looks so cute. I want to kiss him again. Is that what I'm supposed to do with the people I like, right? Gaara sighed and looked away slightly. I wasn't sure. I've never done anything like that before. Never been able to. I've seen people around the village do that with the people they like. It just felt right? He asked, even more confused. The blonde sighed and nodded ever so slightly. I already have others, Gaara. Are you sure you like me? He asked worriedly. Gaara frowned at the mention of others but quickly thought about it. If there are multiple, then he isn't against sharing. So, yes, I'm sure. Why can't I just join them? I know that I'm not the best at emotions, but the raccoon is helping me out now. He was only protecting the people around me as much as he could from that spirit that had invaded my mind. Please give me a chance, he asked hopefully. These emotions are tiring, he thought to himself, even though he had just slept. All right, Gaara. How about we ask the others? The blonde said, placing a seal with his chakra on the wall behind Gaara's desk. He suddenly grabbed Gaara's hand and activated the seal. Gaara felt very light for a moment before they were suddenly in a room instead of his office. We're in my village, inside my room. I have teleportation seals. It may not be as good as the Flying Thunder God technique, but it's the best I can get right now, he said sadly. Gaara smiled at him, which surprised him. Why is it so easy to show emotion with him around? I barely even know him, he thought but shrugged it off after a few seconds. That's actually very useful. The fourth Hokage probably took years developing it and even more time making sure it succeeded, so it's only bound to take time for you, Gaara said, watching as the blonde's face instantly brightened up. He kept his hold on Gaara's hand and pulled him out the door and through the village paths. People greeted and waved at him. They're all so nice, Gaara observed. They arrived at what seemed to be a training ground. There were people training, and once they noticed them, they instantly sprinted over. Hey, Naruto, welcome back, said most of the guys, grinning and hugging him, even if they were sweaty or dirty. All the while Naruto giggled and hugged back. All right, guys, calm down. I want to introduce the Kazekage, also known as Gaara of the Sand. Kind of likes me and wants to join us, he said, reddening at the end. They all turned to Gaara at the same time and crossed their arms. Gaara looked at them and instantly got ready for a fight. Suddenly, the one with red markings on his face grinned. Welcome to our little Naruto worshipping group, he said, causing the rest to smile, grin, or laugh. Gaara blinked in shock before smiling himself. They were so accepting. Why didn't he have them from the beginning? Now time to introduce ourselves, said the same brown-haired boy. After introductions and getting to know each other, Gaara said, All right, I need to head back now. Village to run. He was instantly engulfed in a hug by Naruto and kissed on the cheek. I'll be giving out word to the village about our alliance, he said, suddenly feeling hot. The rest nodded and said their goodbyes. Naruto walked me back to his place and pressed his hand on the seal, transporting us back into my office. I sighed and sat down in the chair. It's been a long day, huh? Naruto asked with a knowing smile. I was just about to respond when we heard commotion outside and footsteps approaching. The door burst open, and in came one of the ninja spies sent to Konoha. He looked at us with a panicked expression. We have a big problem, he said, and I felt overwhelmed. All that could be heard in a 2-mile radius was my face hitting the desk. With Naruto in my life, it was bound to get overwhelming, I thought fondly before preparing to listen to what the man had to say. Naruto's POV. So what you're saying is that Konoha is planning on attacking my village in 6 months? I asked. The now nervous shinobi quickly nodded his head. Yes, he responded before focusing on Gaara. I do not mean any disrespect, but who is this man, Kazekage-sama? The shinobi asked. I studied him closer and noticed he couldn't be past his early 20s. Such a skilled infiltrator yet so young. Not many ninja could share that sentiment. This is Naruto. He is the leader of the village hidden in the darkness. We are now allies and will fight in this war alongside the darkness and sound villages. Leave my office and spread the word among the ranks. We must prepare for war, Gaara commanded, which made my face heat up a little. I wondered why I was reacting like this as the ninja quickly left to inform the other shinobi. Are you sure you wish to fight with us, Gaara? I asked, extremely worried about what it would mean if we somehow failed and he was involved. Gaara simply gave a sharp nod and a small smile. The leaf will regret the day they cross our paths, Gaara stated, leaning over to me and placing a kiss on my lips, making me turn even more red. Now Konoha, you must get your village informed and ready, he said. I smiled and touched the seal I had placed in his office. I reappeared in my room and looked around. I spotted Shikamaru asleep under the covers on my bed and carefully climbed on his back. I leaned in and whispered as low as I could. So, we're going into war earlier than expected. I instantly regretted climbing on him when I felt pain spread across my face from him abruptly lifting his head. He turned to look back at me and said the unexpected, troublesome. He then turned his body so I was sitting on his midsection. He leaned up, using his hands for support, and pressed his lips against mine softly. I thought to myself how indescribably good it felt before shifting slightly from the tightness in my pants, only to realize there was something hard poking my backside. My face burned red and I quickly got off. We have to inform the others. The village will be in a bit of panic, Shikamaru groaned at this, but most people here are level-headed. I will have Tsunade and Sakura train others in the arts of medical jutsu, Lee and Guy will train others in taijutsu, and Kakashi and Itachi will teach them more ninjutsu and genjutsu. You and the other boys can help around as well as recruit more ninja and villagers to be tested. I have a little surprise I need to take care of, so I'll be gone for a bit. Sound good? I said, and Shikamaru agreed to the plan, already getting ready to head out. As soon as he left, I stretched and popped a couple of joints. Tsunade is going to kill me for giving her more work, I sighed. A couple of days later, I watched from the roof of the highest building in my village as everyone scurried around, prepping defenses and honing their skills. This dome is almost impenetrable and indestructible, so I didn't think defenses were much of a worry, but it never hurts to be cautious. The reason they knew our location, besides the giant dome of darkness surrounding the village, was because of that tracking mind jutsu Inoichi used. How annoying! I closed my eyes and sent a mental message to everyone indicating that I was heading out now. I crouched and chakra jumped to the front gate, quickly making my way toward Yuzoshiagakure. Soon, my blood will be replenished. 2 months later, yawning, I made my way to the entrance of my village, slyly hiding my inner smugness. It took a lot of work, a lot of chakra, some blood, and demonic seals, but I finally did it. The sound of hundreds of footsteps behind me was something I never thought would happen. Even more surprising was that the people to whom these footsteps belonged were long-dead family and clan members, as well as past villagers from Yuzu. My mother would be pleased. I even managed to bring back Mito Uzumaki, the first wife. There would be bloodshed once the battle began. My family had decided to take my side and fight with every skill they had available, chakra chains, sealing, kenjutsu, and more. They even taught me some branch techniques that my mother could not teach me. We passed the village dome, and I could hear the alarm blaring, alerting shinobi to unregistered people at the gate. As we walked past the gates, one of the guards quickly shut off the alarm when he saw me and bowed in greeting. I smiled back and led my group into the center of the village, where the acceptance ceremony would begin. Already gathered were Tsunade, my loved ones, my mother, and a large number of shinobi and villagers. Some gasped when they saw us, and I could see Kushina, my dear loving mother, in tears. She quickly rushed over and hugged me while thanking me, knowing that I had just done a great thing. Soon, Konoha will regret ever betraying and challenging me. I now have a family and people who love me for who and what I am. Konoha falls in 2 months. We will ambush them before they even begin heading our way. We will send scouts nearby the village to eliminate any of the Leaf's information gatherers and scouts. Then we will move. The sound and sand stand with us. Konohagakure will fall, and Kuregakure will rise above all. My voice echoed through everyone's ears, causing Gaara and Orochimaru to step forward. So, Naruto was in 11th grade, struggling to focus on his AP classes, which felt overwhelming. He had also come to realize that his writing in previous chapters had not met his expectations, which discouraged him. He acknowledged his readers' investment in his story and reminded himself that this was his first fanfiction, a personal project he hoped they would enjoy. He promised that more chapters would come. In the training field, Naruto gracefully moved, taking out ninja opponents effortlessly. His mastery of taijutsu, weapons, and ninjutsu left his adversaries exhausted and bruised. Activating his Sharingan, he cast genjutsu on those left vulnerable, forcing others to attack their allies with shadow possession. Naruto was a formidable force among shinobi, and Konoha would struggle against the village hidden in darkness. After swiftly defeating everyone, he sighed in satisfaction, displaying a brilliant grin. Tsunade approached him with a loving smile but stood in a challenging posture. She declared that this was the final challenge before he officially took over the village and urged him to fight with all his strength. Naruto nodded, and they locked eyes, both ready for battle. With an unspoken signal, they leapt at each other, clashing with matched strength before pushing away and landing upright. "You have come far," Tsunade remarked before smashing her fists into the ground, creating large cracks and sending debris flying. Naruto dodged and weaved between the rocks, using some as launching pads to get closer to her. Just as he was about to land a hit, Tsunade bent backward and kicked him in the stomach. However, she soon realized she had struck a clone as she was launched forward. Turning mid-air to retaliate, she felt pain as she fell to her knees, surrounded by 3 Narutos, one wielding glowing chakra scalpels. Tsunade attempted to heal herself but was soon knocked out by one of the clones. 5 minutes later, the shinobi regained consciousness, and Naruto shouted for everyone to settle down. Tsunade cleared her throat, silencing the crowd instantly. She acknowledged Naruto's rise through the ranks and his immense power, stating it was an honor to pass the role of village leader to him. As she placed the hat on his head, cheers erupted once again. Naruto smiled, vowing to protect and lead the village to victory and prosperity. A month before the impending attack, Sasuke called out to Naruto, urging him to come to the village gates. As Naruto arrived, he tensed and glared at the bound ninja before him. It was the previous generation of the Ino Shikacho trio, along with some Uchiha clan members, Hayashi Hyuga, and several branch members. "What are you doing here?" Naruto asked, his voice edged with danger. They shifted under his scrutinizing gaze, knowing they had to state their business or face dire consequences. "Please, consider us an addition to your village," Shikaku Nara pleaded. "We recently discovered that we were controlled, our minds influenced by seals placed on us by the Hokage and Danzo. We sincerely apologize, and if you think I am lying, the proof lies within your village's protections. No one with harmful intent can pass through the Dome of Darkness. We can divulge Konoha's plans." Naruto turned to Shikamaru, noticing his conflicted expression. Shikamaru wanted his father back, and he knew others felt the same about their families. However, their actions were unforgivable. After weighing the benefits, Shikamaru nodded. Naruto sighed and gestured for someone to release the captives. They stood and bowed deeply, and Naruto guided them through the acceptance ritual before leading them to a meeting room with his high-ranking shinobi. "Tell me what you know," Naruto demanded as he watched Shikaku settle into a chair. "I need every hidden detail you have. Afterward, we will get you settled in homes. In this village, there is no clan divide. We all rely on each other. Just pick a house or building. We will assign you a training team, whether you want it or not. You will be monitored for a week before receiving your corresponding ranks. Let us begin." Shikaku discussed various failed attempts and plans Konoha had tried against the village. This information enraged the present shinobi further, but the last piece of news shocked them all. "Naruto, your father is still alive and working with the Hokage and Danzo." "I'm sorry. What do you mean he is alive?" Naruto asked slowly, his gaze hard and steady. Shikaku managed to maintain his composure. "From what I gathered in the Hokage's archives, Minato didn't die that day. Instead, he was in a coma for about a month in one of Root's hidden facilities. I can only assume that the Hokage wasn't informed until Minato woke up. Either Minato is working against you out of revenge for your mother, Or Danzo has somehow managed to place everyone in Konoha under the same seals we were controlled with. If it is against their wills, we could be harming many innocent lives. Everyone in the room was shocked and horrified at the extent of Danzo's control. Naruto sighed and rubbed his face with his hands, muttering under his breath about the misfortunes brought upon him. He stood up, realizing they needed to change their plans. The attack would happen in less than a month, and during that time, they needed to prepare to defend themselves and find a way to counter Danzo's control. Naruto looked at Shikaku, frowning as he asked how exactly Shikaku had managed to break away from Danzo. The Nara clan head motioned towards Inoichi and sighed. He explained that Inoichi had broken through after the stunt he was forced to pull against Naruto through Ino. Inoichi's mind had been sensitive after being forcibly removed, allowing him to sense and break through the commands of the seal. After much struggle, Inoichi managed to break the seals on all of them, but he couldn't continue because they were being watched after Danzo noticed they hadn't reacted to a subtle command he had given. The most troubling aspect of this situation was that the seal resided within the minds of the victims rather than on their bodies. The only way Shikaku could imagine something like this happening was through the use of the Sharingan. Frustrated, Naruto remarked that the situation just kept getting worse. He realized that the seals couldn't be removed through simple means but instead required Uchiha Yamanaka procedures, and they didn't have enough clan members for that. Kurama reminded Naruto that he might be able to perform a massive release technique by using the Kitsune Sage mode to his advantage. With his massive reserves, he could amplify any technique to incredible levels. Naruto nodded slowly, a smirk forming on his face. He suggested using his Nin-ken as a distraction along with everyone else present. If anyone got injured, they could fall back quickly to be replaced while he worked on releasing everyone. He emphasized the importance of not killing, but if it came down to his life or theirs, he would rather not lose a loved one. Kurama warned him that there was a catch to this plan, explaining that there might be a possibility of death from exerting himself too much. Since it was a demonic technique and not part of his bloodline, it wouldn't come as easily, and the demonic energy might burn him up inside afterward. Naruto tensed slightly but then relaxed, looking down thoughtfully. They agreed on the plan of distraction and release, believing that was how they would win and help free their people. Naruto decided not to explain the possible consequences and dismissed everyone to train, sending a messenger to Suna and Sound to keep them informed. With a sigh, he shunshined to the park near his home, sitting on the edge of a rooftop shaded by a large tree. He decided to relax for the rest of the day, walking through the village he had come to adore. Watching children play and enjoy life was one of his favorite pastimes, reminding him of the innocence retained in a shinobi village and what he and everyone else fought to protect. He smiled to himself, dreaming of a future where he would have a big family with children of his own who could exist and play in peace. "You sure will," a voice said right behind him. Naruto jumped slightly and turned around to see all of his friends standing there, smiling. He realized he must have been too distracted to notice them and walked up to them, instantly being engulfed in hugs. Soon, they all collapsed in a heap of limbs and laughter, enjoying the moment, unaware of how soon it could end. Naruto looked over his village, observing every shinobi gearing up for battle. Today was the day all three allied villages would go to war against Konoha in an attempt to free the captured inhabitants. "Naruto, a scout came back. They have left Konoha. It is time to go," Tsunade said as she appeared next to him. With a sad sigh, Naruto stood and body flickered to the entrance. In less than a minute, every shinobi was assembled in front of him, looking determined and fired up. "Today we fight not just for ourselves but for the freedom of a whole village, a village that was captured by horrible tyrants. Our goal is to capture or subdue our enemies, not kill them. Lethal force may be used if your life or someone else's is in danger. Remember, we are fighting against many innocent and brainwashed people. I have seen the potential each and every one of you carries. Many of you will be an asset to our victory. We do this now for our village and for our loved ones," Naruto concluded with a shout, the rest joining in. After half an hour of travel, Naruto and his allies spotted the Konoha ninja in the distance. Hundreds of shinobi were forced to battle. Quickly, Naruto signaled the Earth-style users to submerge themselves and instructed some of the medics to fall back, ready to repair any damage done to their forces. Standing in the middle, he looked not just at the incoming army but also at his precious people. With a bowed head and clenched fist, he yelled out the ready mark. Raising his fist, he signaled, initiating the charge. Soon enough, both forces clashed, metal against metal, with punches, kicks, jutsus, and every sort of projectile being thrown around the battlefield. Naruto stayed behind since he was in charge of a larger portion of the plan. He charged chakra throughout his body, slowly activating his mixed sage modes, and watched as the underground unit buried a large chunk of the opposing army up to their heads. Naruto observed every clan heir fight against their own clan, doing their best to limit the damage while showcasing master-level clan techniques. Everything was going according to plan until he saw a yellow flash and watched his mother fall to her husband's hand. His eyes widened, mouth open, and his heart raced. No, please, not again. He heard a scream and looked over at Orochimaru and Tsunade, who were fighting Jiraiya. Tsunade had been badly burned, and Orochimaru was clashing fiercely against Jiraiya with unleashed rage. Naruto felt Kurama roar within him, and suddenly his chakra flared up to an unbelievable amount. He jumped into the sky, using Iris to keep himself airborne as her wings flapped with enough force to deflect jutsus thrown at him. Below him, Kato, his deer Ninken, and Paulani, his wolf companion, were doing their best to keep every shinobi away from the area using taijutsu techniques and elemental jutsus respectively. Do it now, no. If this goes on any longer, more people will get hurt, Kurama urged. Naruto felt his chakra core fluctuate before it charged his whole body. Now, Kurama whispered, sadness lacing his voice. As soon as he spoke, Naruto opened his mouth, and a somber melody erupted from his throat, rippling across the battlefield for miles. Every shinobi stopped to watch as chains released from Naruto's body. Millions of chains captured every enemy shinobi, wrapping around their limbs and melding into their skin like roots into soil. Painless and efficient, the chains began to glow, spreading across their bodies in the form of vine-like tendrils. Soon, the battlefield was covered in blinding light until it shattered, releasing the shinobi, who collapsed, still conscious but recovering their minds. Every single shinobi except Danzo and Sarutobi lay on the ground, and slowly, Naruto was lowered as well. Letting out a sigh of relief, he stumbled forward before kicking off the ground and appearing in front of both men at inhuman speed. With seal tags placed on their foreheads, they were immobilized, and victory seemed assured. Or so Naruto thought. He turned, about to motion for someone to take charge of them when he felt something pierce his back and emerge from his chest. Looking down, he realized his mistake. Protruding from his chest was a staff unmistakably belonging to the third Hokage. Slowly, Naruto turned to face his assailant, and his suspicions were confirmed when both old men revealed their own seals placed on the sides of their necks, negating the other seals. Kurama, can you heal me? I don't have enough chakra left. Naruto gasped, coughing as he felt his life force drain away. Falling to the ground, he heard shouts and spotted several attacks aimed at the old men. I'm so sorry, Naruto. That jutsu took all of my energy. I barely have enough left to keep my soul here. This sliver of chakra is all that keeps me from fading. If it were enough to heal you, I would give it to you instantly. I'm so sorry, kid. Kurama said, shaking his head. This is it for us, kid. I had fun with you and your other inhabitant, he added, referring to Naruto's other half from the Haruno clan. Naruto began to feel a cold sensation overtaking his body. Hearing a rush of footsteps, he turned his head slightly and saw all his loved ones and family surrounding him in panic. Slowly, his vision started to blur and darken, spots creeping in from the edges. Feeling his arms shaking him and the warmth of everyone around him, he could only do one last thing. I love you all, were Naruto's last words, resonating in everyone's minds. That day, Naruto died on the battlefield, a hero to all and, most importantly, a savior to the people he loved. Almost everyone from the village surrounded Naruto's body, feeling as if something precious had been ripped from their souls. They could do nothing but mourn his death. Tsunade was unable to heal him, still suffering from major burns that covered her body, struggling to recover. I couldn't do anything either. I should have done something. I owe him so much and I hurt him previously. It should have been me, Ino thought to herself. She noticed the boys were still in shock when a realization struck her. Do not move his body, she shouted at everyone before looking over at Guy and Lee, two of the strongest and fastest in the village. Lee, I need you to get me back to Konoha as fast as possible. The rest of you, please treat everyone who is still recovering, she instructed, holding on tight as Lee picked her up and started running, leaving a trail of dust behind. As soon as they arrived in Konoha, they rushed to the flower shop. Ino dashed toward a hidden corner of the shop, quickly sliding her hand over the wall to open the door. Lee, wait outside, she said, rushing in to where the phoenix flower was. It had grown like a vine with multiple budding flowers. She gently picked one and rushed out, climbing onto Lee. Quick, Lee, take us back. Will this help Naruto? He asked, and she nodded. Why, your power of youth, he began, but she quickly smacked his head. Right. They took off with renewed strength and speed, focused on their mission. They arrived to find that most of the village and its allies were already recovering or in the process of doing so, except for Naruto's friends. Each one of them huddled over his body, silently mourning the love of their lives. Ino rushed toward Naruto's body and flinched at the sight of the gaping hole in his chest. Gently, she laid the flaming flower on him and watched as his body burst into flames and turned to ashes. The boys quickly looked at her, some screaming in rage while others drew weapons, looking almost feral. Wait, please just watch. I had to be fast or it wouldn't work, she pleaded, and they hesitated, ready to unleash their fury upon her when the ashes began to move. The pile of ash ignited again, slowly molding together and forming a body once more before the flames extinguished. The ash hardened, appearing almost rock-like before it cracked. An arm popped out, then a leg, and finally, Naruto sat up with a gasp, covered in soot and ash but completely healed. Ino smiled as the boys group hugged him before running toward the others. I get to tell them he's back and watch their reactions, she thought with a grin. The next day, Naruto reflected on his return. Coming back from the dead wasn't pleasant. It felt like bathing in ice-cold water from the inside out. As soon as he was back, Shikamaru scolded him for leaving them and then hugged him. The rest of the guys had not left his side, and he completely understood why. He learned that his mother, Kushina, hadn't actually died but was instead knocked out, and that his father had been controlled but managed to resist killing his wife and subdued her instead. The rest of Konoha decided to move into his village due to the bad memories triggered within the Leaf's walls. Danzo and Sarutobi were killed after their actions, and Jiraiya was working hard to earn Tsunade's forgiveness. No. He couldn't thank her enough for what she had done and had definitely forgiven her for her previous actions. My body was completely recovered, and my chakra was on its way. Now all I could do was enjoy some peaceful time. Naruto, stop daydreaming and focus on us instead. You wanted kids and a big family, so let's not waste any time, Kiba said as he walked out of the bathroom with the rest of the guys, a mischievous smirk on his face. I felt heat rise to my cheeks, remembering how Kurama had explained how Piardinsui worked with demon containers that morning. Guys, wait, we can talk about tea, I started, but before I could finish, I was tackled onto our bed. I thought to myself, I guess if you can't beat them, join them, eh?